You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
Do not forget. Expect us.
This is a message to all supporters. A message to all freedom fighters, to all dissented, to all forgotten. A call to all intellectuals, to all journalists. A call to all freethinkers. A call for intelligence. This is a call to all poets. A call to the strong and the weak. A call to all young people. To the wise, to the astucious. We want you to join us. We are on the streets of Tokyo. In the skyscrapers of New York. In the lanes of Paris. In the cellars of Munich. On Moscow's icy places. On the cobbled streets of Dublin. This is a call to all people. To the youth. Join us in the fight for freedom of information. Search for us, and you will find us. We are among you. We are you. Everyone you speak with can be a member of Anonymous. We have no leaders, only an orientation. We have no targets, only results. You cannot stop us, because we are an idea. We cannot be eliminated, because we are invisible. If you try to mock us, we will mock ourselves. If you try to slander us, we will accept the defamation. We are the king's jesters with daggers. We are the dancing bear which tears to pieces the laughing mob. We are Anonymous. We are a legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us, just as we expect you.
councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
And welcome to Anonymous Bites Back, episode 146. We do have some pressing news. I guess it's a little late, about a week and a half late, but we just learned that our fellow Anon, Zach, he's dead. That's why I put it in the description title. I guess the story went that he was struck and killed by a moving car. It was a hit and run. I'm in contact with his mother. But yeah, that sucks.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
rest
he
in
was
peace.
he was struck in Flint. Do we know what he was working on?
No, knowing Zach, he might have. Well, I don't want to put his dirty little business, but that it's Zach. He was just out there being Zach,
Doing his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's always hard when we, there's not a whole lot of us, that are down for the cause to begin with, like truly down for the cause. So, it's always a huge loss, and he definitely, if it's old school, like his sword will be missed.
Well, I know many people knew him. I mean, on Facebook and stuff, and I mean, he was well known by the community, and he was attacked, and he did a lot of hacking stuff, and so it is a loss, not only in a personal way, but also you will notice that he's gone. Yeah, like that's kind of what I mean. That he was always very visible. He was always doing his stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys might know him. I'm not going to go to some of his screen names, but I'm not going to go into the details about all of his information. But he was a very talented at what he did. I think at some point, I think our promoter will put the link to his Facebook on one of our channels. We'll put the link somewhere in there to his Facebook profile. What else do we have? I don't want to be the
Segway guy.
Oh, yes. So I do have something to address verbally, and we did get a strike on YouTube, and this is the most bizarre thing, and I gotta get this out. It seems that people believe that. Yeah, there we go. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
cutting
losing
off.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Come on, guys, get it together.
Yeah. So I guess I'm having some uploading problems, but no. Some footage from Million Mass March 2014 was stolen from another YouTube channel, and they re-uploaded it on November 5th, claiming that they had got the footage, but John, that's your buddy's footage that was on there. They didn't
Yeah.
do it. They didn't do it. They all they did was they added music, and then they say that they own the exclusive copyright laws to the Million Mass March for in your area.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's incredible. Like that is what's happening right now, and we'll soon we'll soon start talking about the whole stop attitude thing, and it has. You can see how copyright is getting out of control. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and especially here, like, so so they claim the exclusive. Like, think about that for a minute. For the people that are doing that, like, without calling them out, right? Like, for the people that are doing that, think about what, like you just said, that you own the exclusive.
Why the hell would you start? This was a manual guy. This guy manually reported one of these our videos, and I don't know why. Even if you own some music, which was not true, then why would you still report it? I mean, this is like an event for everyone.
Yeah,
Just like
in bird culture, that's considered a dick move.
it is a dick move.
Well, it's a dick move, in the sense that they didn't go to the Netherlands, they didn't record the content, and in fact, the video came out on November 5th in the morning. Okay, the protest wasn't over until the afternoon. The footage they didn't shoot it at all. So I'm gonna petition it on YouTube, and I will probably do a docs and post it online on who these individuals are, because they do not own the copy. They do not own the rights to that video at all. Nor does anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Nor does that's the deal. Nor does anybody. It's not like we're saying we own it. Like whatever. It's just it's a really kind of. I mean, besides being just a dick move, it kind of stands against several of the things that Anon stand for.
Yeah, and another thing, we don't make any money with this channel. It only costs money.
And we don't copyright anything, you know. Yeah.
No, we make episodes of 4 hours a piece, and we never get anything for it. We just spend time on it. Everyone can actually download these episodes and share them wherever they want. We don't even care. And for them to like report it, yeah, it's shocking. Whatever, yeah.
It's that mine.
Go ahead, Tyler. I'll just help you.
Well, yeah, and you know, just to put their dirty little secrets out there, you know, this is a cosplay channel that focuses up on you know people that like to dress like anime characters, and apparently they think that they own the rights to, I don't know.
I guess that's cool. Like, I like, the cosplay thing's cool. I just wish you weren't dicks underneath the anime costume.
Well, no, they wanted our channel to go down because they think that they own the rights to the video.
Are we competition for the anime page? Whatever. Like, it's worked before. Like, I mean, come on, guys. To be completely honest with you, we've had everybody and their grandmother try to take us down. You can line up behind the rest of them. None of it ever works. Striking us down will only make us more powerful.
And, something I want to get over to, is, Stop ACTA. John, you wanna talk more about it? I think we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, I've been talking about it for 4 hours.
Yeah,
like my voice is hurting, but yeah. So the 23rd of March, we have Europe-wide protests in almost every country in Europe. More and more are popping up each day. We are protesting against a copyright directive. We call it ACTA 2, but it's actually about 2 articles in a new directive, a new law. It is Article 11 and Article 13. Article 13 is an upload filter, so it will automatically block copyrighted content from being uploaded. It means they will do automatic depacket inspections against us. And Article 11 is the link tax. Yeah, it is. Pretty much when you link to material and it contains more than a few words, it's considered copyrighted, and you have to pay for linking. And so that's pretty much the basic of it. They will tax each link on the internet, and as you all know, the internet is actually built on links, on linking to each other. So they literally will tax the entire internet, so to speak. And Article 13 is also dangerous, not just because it's an upload filter, but it is also dangerous because it will make website owners responsible for everything the users do. So if you own like a news site and you have like comments enabled below it, and someone posts something, someone replies with something copyrighted, then you as a website owner are responsible. You have to pay. And why we are also very worried about Article 13 is because this upload filter filters copyrighted material, but let's say you make parodies of stuff like memes, for example, it will also recognize it as copyrighted. And let's say you make do like street protests or videos on the street, and imagine being there like a Starbucks visible or whatever on the background. It will recognize the Starbucks logo. Or let's say you wear Nike shoes and someone accidentally puts the camera on the Nike shoes and it shows a Nike logo, then the entire video will also be blocked, right? So this is really shocking. And
so let's say if I buy copyright a hashtag, would I be able to take, information off of the internet with that hashtag? So, let's say I don't like the Me Too hashtag, so I buy that copyright and have it removed from the internet. That'd be totally possible through this, correct?
Yeah, in theory, it's possible. Yeah, if you so that's what they're that's what they're trying. Yeah, and they're voting about this the 25th of March. They tried to actually do the vote earlier because the protests were getting a lot of attention, and they quickly tried to make the vote earlier, but there was so many angry people about this that they forgot about that little plan, and the voting will be the 25th, and the 23rd we will have the protests all over Europe. And if you want to start a protest or join a protest, the quickest thing is to visit stopacta2.org. That is the quickest thing. It has all the information and a protest list, event list, and everything. And, it's managed by a few police guys who are really active with this. They don't make any money or whatever. They're just normal guys, and they're working like 24/7 on this, and already doing this for maybe over a year. I think almost 2 years already. Well, this was all not yet known in the public, and now it's like pretty much everywhere. So.
Well, now
Yeah,
basically, what they're saying is that, like, if this goes through, this is they're going to basically the corporations will be running the laws of the internet.
Yeah, I mean, if anything in your room is seen as, if you're doing a live stream, anything in your room that's seen as copyrighted, you take a drink of a Starbucks coffee. If they don't like it, they'll take the video down. Or I mean, anything that can, that can mean computers, that can mean, the monitor on the back says LG or Sony on it, and they can take it down.
Yeah, and there's no more need for any police to stop a protest, right? You just have to send like a guy who sings like a song, and you can take the entire video down.
Yeah, or just, it's in a place that's got a, if you protest in Times Square, right? Everything that's on every, billboard that's there is copywritten.
Yeah, and what's also like almost like Orwellian, like that is it's about everything you upload, right? And they claim their AI or their system can recognize like copyrighted stuff in it, but it means they actually screen all your packets.
Yeah, so I mean, they've got a copy of every single thing that you upload or download. Awesome, awesome.
This is Orwellian. This is like. People are really scared about this, and okay, so if we lose the vote on 25th, then the European countries got 2 years to implement this.
Is there any country in Europe that won't apply to?
There are 5 countries who refuse this, but if the vote goes on, I'm pretty sure they will be forced by European law, unless they leave the European Union, I guess. But
well, will that just push people hosting more and more overseas? I mean, over to other countries, Russia, China, India, South Africa, Congo, places where, they don't have these draconian fucking laws. I mean, they've got draconian laws in completely other places, but they will gladly host your copywritten information. They don't care.
You're right, and that's probably what will happen. So that's why it's also I feel it's like a suicidal law too for them, because especially for them to do it like around Brexit, for example, it's like a very weird idea to me, because like it's literally surrounding the Brexit vote, and now it's just like, if you decide, are you in favor or against Brexit? Well, if you stay in the European Union, your internet's going to be censored. So what are you going to do?
Well, maybe they should, they're going to lose quite a bit of money with Brexit. Maybe they should start hosting, right? Become the nation that hosts all everybody's servers, being that you're no longer part of Europe. You don't have to abide by ACTA. But they've already got some pretty hardcore laws in the UK for copyright and
well, they
hosting.
have some intense surveillance laws and protocols, in the UK. I think they're the most
they got a camera
the most
every
monitored
corner.
country besides China.
Yeah, and China's going with the you know, I don't know how England's, you know, facial recognition software is, but they've got I mean, they've got cameras everywhere. Where I know China's going with the facial recognition thing, which I mean,
Now
we kind of say it that China's going with the facial recognition thing, but you know, every government is really doing it. You know, go to
there's
the
one
airport.
other. There's one other thing I should mention, and that is the Article 13 has some similarities with a law Donald Trump introduced in the United States, and actually it was passed, and it is the uh, FOSTA SESTA law, FOSTA SESTA.
Yeah, that was a
It
while
is
ago, though. I didn't know they were trying to bring that back.
it was April 2018, and I think it passed. And that says also the same thing. It had to do with sex trafficking, right? And it
Oh, yeah,
said
yeah, yeah, that's right.
website owners are responsible for everything their users do. And so there were people being like prostitutes on websites, on like
Oh, that was
social
like
media sites.
Backpage and all of that, right?
Yeah. And so what they said was like, you're like having prostitutes on your site, and you're going to be responsible for this. And now
So
we have in the yeah, and in the European Union we have the Article 13, and it also says website owners will be responsible for what their users do. So there is a similarity there. And now I think I'm not so well educated in United States law, but I think the copyright companies like Disney or whatever, they can also say now that as a website owner you're responsible. So if there is copyrighted content on it, the website owner is responsible. And in the same way, I think Article 13 can also be used in the European Union for against like the sex trafficking stuff. But I think we have a similar law now in both the USA and European Union soon. So it will be on both sides of the Atlantic. That the website owners are now being victimized by the governments and the corporations, so to speak. So
Especially with high volume websites, it's almost unreasonable for a website owner to have the resources to monitor all traffic. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, exactly.
Well, you'll get rid of reviews, you'll get rid of comments. See what else?
Just post cat videos. I guess that's it.
Yeah, you have to keep it pretty mild.
We don't know how the EU will pay for it, but we did find something, and that was about an development of an AI system in the European Union, and they had 14 billion euros reserved for that. So
for an upload filter.
To develop an AI, and the
Oh.
use of that was not defined, and so we think that it might be used for this upload filter, this AI. So,
Wow. 14 billion. I'll do it for 13.
yeah, that's a
I'll
lot
save
of
you
money.
Guys, yeah, I'll save you guys $1 billion.
That
right
literally
there.
means that they need a web crawler with a database of like Google to
Yeah,
cross
I mean, most
reference.
of that is
Holy
going
shit,
to go.
that's not an easy project.
Yeah, I mean, most of that's going to go to. I mean, look, the deal is they're going to store your personal information. Every video, everything. I mean, there's no other way to do it. Right? So, I mean, a lot of that is going to go to just huge storage facilities that's only job is to store your personal information. Just to check to see if you've got any copyright violations in it. Just looking around.
Yeah.
That picture, the video of your kid's birthday, you guys were all drinking Coca-Cola, so we had to take that down. Sorry.
Oh, no. Can't have that.
Yeah,
You guys had, I mean, it's Disney, right? You had there was a toy that was from one of their movies in the thing. You were wearing a t-shirt. There was Elsa on it. Sorry, man. That is licensed by Disney, motherfucker.
Well, both Facebook and YouTube use like very advanced systems already to screen content. Probably it will be similar to that, but that would be like the best case scenario, I think.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's definitely not a win for the people. That's for sure.
Yeah, when's the last time they went along with what the people wanted on some of this internet stuff? It's like you're always fighting something. Like you never even get a hearing. You know. Like,
yeah, I'll have to look through it, but I'm pretty sure never.
You know, like I heard, you know, just speaking of, you know, what the people want, you know, Jesus, the back end of Facebook is so glitchy. Whatever. No, but yeah, no, there was you know how they repealed the net neutrality vote, but I believe they're trying to reenact the net neutrality laws and bypass the FCC, and Congress is trying another attempt to, you know, to slide something through without it getting much notice. But
yeah, and what they'll wait for timing. They'll wait till you're arguing about something else.
And then
There's
they'll
other
pass
times where or they'll just change the name of it. So you know they tried with things like the Patriot Act, right? They tried to pass the Patriot Act several times. Right after Tim McVeigh, Oklahoma City bombing, right after that happened, they tried to pass the Patriot Act again, and then they changed the name of it right after 9/11 because it was super unpopular to, you know, give away everybody's rights. So what they'll do is when it is unpopular and things don't pass, they'll change the name, or they'll just wait until you're not arguing about it anymore.
I mean, whatever needs to be done to keep, you know, the internet as a utility instead of, you know, charging XYZ for fucking data or whatever, when most of the infrastructure on the internet doesn't require a different pay structure to get a different speed. That's just as a ploy. Everything's been bought and paid for. We were the ones
that built this infrastructure. So I mean, the infrastructure, the internet specifically, right? The taxpayers built that. It doesn't belong to these corporations. They didn't put up any of the wires. They didn't put any of the work, right? We did all of that. So why do these companies get to tell us what to do with our infrastructure, right? I don't, you know, because you're Viacom or whatever, you didn't put any of this stuff up. Right, like, so I don't agree with their like constant, like, you know, feel that somehow that because they're a big company that they own the internet.
Their logic is because there's like level 1, level 2, and level 3 ISPs, and you know, level 3 ISPs have to pay so much to the level 2s and then all the way up to level 1s for access. But yeah, basically it all comes to corporate fucking garbage.
I'm sure it does.
Corporate
so
bureaucracy,
look,
we're the ones taking it up the ass.
And yeah, and look, okay, so fair enough. So you break it up into levels. Look, all of you guys are protected by Air Force Strategic Command, right? How much you owe me for that? Right? If it's so private, and you know what I mean, we're spending billions a year to make sure that you're not getting hacked by other companies, right? How much does that cost you? Pay up. You know, we're always doing these favors for these giant corporations, and we're like we owe them something. Where it's the exact opposite. Yeah.
Corporate welfare, yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's like NASA handing all the research from the space program over to Musk for like $1. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I think there was someone that asked that question a little bit ago to, you know, I forget who they asked it to, but yeah, that specific question, like it's, hey, we put all of the money into this research. How come we don't see any of the benefits from it? And the guy's like, no, I think this had to do with medical research. And he's like, no, we patent it and then we make the money for it. And they're like, well, why? Right? If I paid for the research, I paid for the people to look at it. Why don't I get the benefit for that? I think that may have been over the recent hearings over medication prices.
Yeah, arbitrarily, I do remember, when companies started charging for data. And I do remember when the old PCI Express cards were around. Remember that? John, you remember that, right? When the old laptops, they had to have the old cellular connection to get a weird. Yeah. That's when I remember, and only, you had to have some money to have shit like that back in the day. It wasn't a cheap, they were about $400 or $500 for a card. I think the cheapest one I ever saw was like $250 used. But that's when I remember seeing companies charge for data, and this was way before you started seeing, cell phones with anything besides an LCD screen. And I think the precursor to this was, I think AT&T was the one that started the charging of data. It was after the acquisition of Singular. I remember that happening.
Yeah, I mean that's a good, AT&T is a good example, where you get, again, our small towns and businesses and all of that are the ones that put up the telephone wires. And yet this giant company gets full use of it, paid for it, and then we're supposed to act like we owe you.
It's a great system, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't, it makes no sense to me.
I think I said PCI Express, but that's the wrong narrative for the card. It's God, I forget what the fuck.
Yeah, because I mean, the PCI Express.
No, PCI Express is goes in the bag. It was a side card. I just don't remember what the fuck it was called. They were shaped like a credit card, about the same width, and they had about 40 pins on it.
Mm-hmm.
For I think it was a parallel connection. I just can't remember what the fuck they were called. It's been so long.
PCMCIA.
Yeah, PCMCIA. There you go.
Yeah, that's an old standard.
Yeah.
This is just what happens when one or two companies own the market, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they get to do anything they want. And back then it was like that with the phone companies, of course. If you had the internet, they would charge you either by the minute with your modem, and would just call to a number and would charge you for that. And then it gradually changed with the broadband, but then with the phones they did the same thing. It gradually changed, but it's just only because they were competing against each other. I mean,
I remember when if you wanted an ISDN line, from your phone company, they wanted to charge you $100 a month, and that was kind of a lot, in the early 90s.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that bothers me is that it's never enough. It's especially with the internet, look, you're making heaps of money. You're making more money than you can ever spend in your entire lifetime. But to just squeeze out that extra $30 to, make people pay the extra little bit for, high speed, there's always this game to squeeze a little bit more. And I think eventually we hit that limit and they'll lose control completely. You'll get somebody in there that'll start, just like they did with the, before, where you start busting up the monopolies.
Well, that's what they're supposed to be doing. You do have antitrust and monopoly laws, but you haven't seen those used
I guess
in so
for
long.
some reason, if you put tech in front of it, you don't have to abide by antitrust laws. I'm not exactly sure. So as long as you're a tech company or a telecom, that doesn't seem to apply to them for some reason. I don't know.
Well, it's like Intel, their national security. They put the electronics in a national security type container, so that they can literally tell you that, but it has all the same markings that electronics of the other things that are built that way. You just say, hey, it's national security, and then well, fuck you. That's a story.
Do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Did I say terrorism? Yep, terrorism. All right, yeah. That's the magic word. All you got to say is terrorism. You can do whatever you want. Want some money?
What?
Well, I mean, you can walk into any government office as long as whatever you say has the word terrorism in it. They give you money. It's that simple.
A grant, yeah.
Well, sometimes if you don't want to go through the grant the grant process, they'll give you black money, dark money, whatever you need.
Yeah. I mean, but basically what it boils down to is we can't let the corporations control or make the rules that govern the internet. We can't allow this, and if push comes to shove, there are other options out there, besides, the normal, what we call ClearNet, that we can go to, but I don't want to have to come to that.
Well, I mean, even then, this is causing other countries to pretty much make their own internet. Which, I mean, there may be a time where, you have to connect to the Russian internet or the Chinese internet or the Indian internet.
Well, there might be a Russian internet. There's been talk about them pulling out of
Well, I mean, it's not, they're building it. It's going to happen. And I mean, and that has to do with the same, with this same control thing. But they're they're definitely causing the constant selling of personal information, and other countries snooping on you and using it for political aims and all of that shit. They're causing these other networks to be built. And once you start dealing with satellite, India's putting up a new satellite. Like, what stops you from connecting to the Russian internet? Is the Russian internet more free and open than the American internet?
No.
Well, I mean, there's just to smack us, you'd like to, but just to smack us in the face, they don't give a shit if Disney has, if there's Disney movies on there.
Yeah, but it boils down to who says that the governments have the right to be the gatekeepers of the internet either. I mean, it's the people built the systems, and a lot of it was done with public research.
Well, and I mean,
some of it was nonprofit organizations, and some of it was done by corporate, private corporations. But a lot of who the fuck says that the government or corporations dictate the laws of the internet? I just don't see it. I mean, the internet was fucking fine for the last since people have been logging on modems. So what we say,
30 years.
Yeah, about 30 years now? Yeah. It was.
Yeah, but it wasn't maximized for profit yet, and that's
I mean, if you saw a website in 1999, 2000, there was no CSS. Mostly of it, a lot of it was just it was all HTML. It was all text based. Maybe with some JavaScript, but websites are not like how they are now.
No, it all looked crappy, but it was actually functional. It worked.
Well, I mean, sometimes it was just amazing to see what we managed to pull off with nothing, or the visually what you were able to do with using the bare minimum sometimes was amazing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
About that Russia thing, but you also have in Russia they do seem to have a lot more balls to stand up against the government for some weird reason too, because you have that vk.com, right? It's very similar to Facebook, and that Facebook just delivers all the data of its users to Secret Service and stuff and to government, but VK actually refused that. It is owned by the Telegram guys, and the Russian government asked for data of the users of VK, and they refused it, and they started to move their servers around all over the world to defend against that.
Yeah.
So it also depends on what kind of government do you actually deserve as a people? If you don't resist against anything, what kind of government will you get eventually? So
America's a shit show, so.
Oh, it's a shit show here too. We don't resist against anything either. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, there are times where you look around and you're just like, Jesus, what is taking so long? Now is the time. Let's go.
Yeah.
Get the fuck up. Every once in a while I'll see those, or you're getting a message like, oh, what should I do? Get the fuck up, come on! What do you mean, what can I do?
Well, the problem is, a lot of what I see now is that you're not even given a process to, you're not given a way to have any input. There's a process, but the process doesn't really let you say much,
Well, and you're totally uninvolved with it. Obviously, you did not ask the people if they wanted to, if they wanted to be censored like this by the government and corporations, right? So we're always left out of the conversation that affects us more than anybody else. And that's the people in general. We're always left out. We're always left out of this other conversation for things that we don't want. The people want a free and open internet, without government oversight or the selling of our information. That is really it.
Yeah, it's also getting to the point where there are countries that are banning encryption. Like Australia. Who the fuck tells the right to determine the protocols that are used on it?
Well, yeah, because they want to be like it. They just it's like a it's something wrong with somebody that that is literally obsessed with seeing what's going on somebody else's screen, right? With seeing what's going on in somebody else's house. It's like a weird obsession, and I mean, it drives them crazy if they can't see what you're talking about.
Yeah, that
You
was
know,
actually one of my complaints. I didn't want to bring in the Facebook bashing, like, but
No, go ahead.
yeah. So Zuckerberg, it put a post on his personal blog, wherever the fuck it is in Facebook world. I got a link, and he claims that he's concerned about privacy and safety, even though his own company had raped all the users on Facebook and all of the personal information. Facebook has been going on for 15 fucking years. Encryption has been around for longer than Facebook has been around. And now they are worried about your messages being encrypted. No, the only reason they're worried about encryption is because their shareholders said, hey, if you don't get this shit under control, we're going to pull out and your stocks are going to dive. So this is Mark Zuckerberg covering his fucking ass. But that's my 2 cents. But anyway.
well, and I think like crunch the numbers. At a certain point, it's like after they've got everybody's personal information that's currently using Facebook, like, yeah, go ahead and encrypt it. Who cares? They've watched you for 15 years. They know everything that you're going to buy, how many kids you have, what you're interested in. Like at a certain point, of course, you can say it's encrypted. They've used you for everything that you're worth to them. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, I wouldn't take that into like as reality. Like it's encrypted unless we want to look at it.
Yeah, and they didn't define on what encryption they're using. Are they using RC4? Are they using, what the fuck are you? Or what the fuck are they using?
Thank you.
Oh, you don't want any encryption.
Yeah.
Well, this is what happens when you have a bureaucracy. It becomes a clerical admin type thing. A secretary can go over there and say, "Oh, you've done something here according to our code, and now you don't get to do it." And of course, there is no process for rebuttal or talking about it or appeal or any of that. It's just a done deal, and that's what they turn everything into. So there is no process.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. I remember when they were voting, when Ajit Pai voted on that on Article 2 of the Internet, or Title 2 to what the FCC thinks that they're not allowed to control, which is not true. I remember. God, I lost my train of thought. Seriously.
I remember, but I forgot.
Yeah, that was
Ajit Pai, the Sith Lord.
Yeah, but I forgot what I was gonna get at. God damn it.
Where to start with that guy?
Yeah, I don't know. That guy, when he determined the fate of the internet, in the United States, knowing full well that he was a VP for Verizon, and his vote was swayed by corporations and their influence, but his reasoning was that the FCC cannot dictate the laws of the internet. It doesn't apply to them. And I'm like, well, you're the federal communications communications division of the United States government. Of course you have the full fucking right to determine that the internet and internet speeds should be or ISPs should be determined as a utility, and should be necessary. There are so many things that are integrated into the internet, including VoIP services, which when you call 911 is how they run on the back end. So they very well do have the right to govern how it's being used, and that it should be a utility. How would the how do you think the call centers on the back end of 911 would function if they started limiting or limiting the traffic that can go to these things, quiet.
Imagine all the traffic being automatically filtered in Europe. I was like just thinking about that. Like, let's say you like uh, message some European version of 911, and you're actually messaging them with like a picture and has a copyrighted logo. And it's blocked. What the fuck?
Rutro.
Yeah.
Well, Europe is 112, but
Yeah, it's 112. Yeah, but
yeah.
yeah. I don't know about other countries, but yeah, probably 112.
I can just imagine somebody like calling that they're being stabbed, and they're all like, "Well, the knife was copywritten, so we took it out. Sorry."
Yeah.
Pretty soon it'll if these laws continue to pass, then we'll get into the weird arbitration of who wrote what code. You know what I mean? That's how stupid this is gonna get. They're gonna literally be arguing over bits and bytes. You know?
No packets.
I just got a message. There is also a new Stop ACTA event in Scotland now in Glasgow on the 23rd of March. They launched 4 hours ago, so you can find them on Twitter. I think they will have a fat book event too soon. Let's see. The Twitter account is called events_WD. Scott's activist channel against the EU's copyright directive. They will be at the Glasgow City Council Saturday 23rd of March, and they will protest. So we have an event in Scotland now too, which is a good thing.
Do the lawmakers who are writing up ACTA, do they know how bad this will impact the internet?
I'll tell you, this Axel Voss who is behind this. He's the most die-hard guy pushing this. This Axel Voss, during the Snowden events, he proposed over 200 amendments to European privacy law to reduce our privacy online. He tried to get over 200 different detailed restrictions to our privacy in. Most of them failed, but he actually tried it. And then he did another thing. Shortly after the Panama Papers, after the Panama leaks, he defended the corporations against being exposed.
Of course he was,
Yeah.
because he was probably involved in it, and maybe put the fucking cue card to bomb the journalist.
Yeah, so he said like, we give them a 1 year delay for releasing their tax details and stuff, because it has to do with protecting their trade and stuff, their trade secrets against competition. So
You're
defended
hiding
the
your money.
companies.
You're hiding your money in the Caribbean is needed to protect your trade interests. Sure.
Yeah.
Now,
So
that's
he's all
just
about
called tax
defending.
evasion to the rest of us. Money laundering,
Yeah,
racketeering,
and
those
so-
kind of things.
And you know that these big companies that were like involved in this Panama League stuff, these are also, of course, these huge companies who own many of these big copyrights, right? So, yeah, you can see what a guy like Axel Voss, who he belongs to. And
What party is that he belongs to?
it is the German CDU, a CSU. This is a combination of two parties.
Oh.
The CDU is actually the Christian
Immigrant.
Democrat Party.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
if there's
yeah.
one thing that says Christianity, it's a rich motherfucker hiding his money in the Cayman Islands.
You have to protect
Yeah.
that. We can't let that go. Oh.
The problem is they are the most powerful political party in Europe, literally. They are kind of like, I think they're considered the conservatives in Europe. The fact is, now if you would compare it to America, they would be the Republicans, but the Democrats, we also have the Democrat Party, and those are called ALDE, ALDE. Those are the Democrats. They're on the same side. So this is like they both vote in favor of this directive. And against them are the Greens and the Pirates. That's one party. The Greens are well, you can compare them to the Greens in the USA, I guess. I mean, and also against it are the Social Democrats, which are the socialist parties in Europe. The Eurosceptics are against it, of course. They sound like the anti-Europeans, but
The Eurosceptics.
yeah, yeah, but we have Eurosceptics. Yeah, and we
Oh,
also
good.
have an extreme right. We have a far right party. We call them the extreme right. They are actually even brown color in the parliament, and, like all the brown shirts, and they're also in favor of the copyright law, of course. So,
Really?
Wow. Like actual brown shirts. That's cool.
Doesn't that wait?
yeah,
Wait, wasn't Hitler a brown shirt?
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Well, before they went black.
yeah.
When you get to black uniforms, you're in trouble. Yeah.
Well, that's always bothered me that nobody in like any of these, when you're like like masked up in all black from head to toe with like a billy club and in a taser and a tack dog, nobody ever looks down the line and thinks, "Fuck, man, I'm pretty sure we're the bad guys." Like we would be like throwaway villain number 5 in like every single action movie ever made, right? Like, look at what you're wearing. Right? If Arnold Schwarzenegger comes in, he'd be throwing you guys away, you know what I mean? One right after the other. All of you would be played by stuntmen.
Well, and if you're doing the right thing, why do you have classified missions?
Well, I don't think that that nothing good ever needs to be classified. Right? Like, you have to hide your identity. Why? Because I'm oppressing my community, and that doesn't normally go over well. People are going to be super pissed about it. But yeah, it just blows my mind that they never look down the line of that nightmare and think, "Oh yeah, we are definitely the bad guys."
Just doing their job. They got to feed their family, Terrence.
I don't suppose you could do it without like beating people up. It's just I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe try an Uber?
I posted the picture, Tyler, of the vote on 26 February of this year, and you can actually see the ENF or the rechtsextreme, means like the extreme right, and they have the brown color in the picture.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, it's 2009. It's 2019. Like, you are wearing that because you want to.
Yeah, and they have the yellow ones are the liberals, and the blue ones are the conservatives, and yeah, they all vote in favor of this weird law. And the S&D, which is the Social Democrats, they are divided. It's like literally three versus three, and yeah,
It's
I know
always
the socialists from. Go ahead.
it's always amazing to see the things that these people agree on. You know, on the outside, they're bitter enemies unless it comes to certain issues, and then they vote so quick and so united. You don't even they're hoping you don't even notice. They'll get a piece of legislation out that day, and it's signed and into law the next day. But then on all real issues, they'll argue endlessly on it. It's always interesting to see. They don't agree on anything unless it's take away your rights, and then unanimous.
Yeah, and like if you see the red ones, though, yeah, those are the Social Democrats, and I know from my country at least the Socialist Party guy voted against it. He signed the pledge against it. I don't know about other countries. I know some voted in favor, and those are probably the French guys. So we have, yeah, I know the guys from my country voted against it, but the French ones, yeah, I know Macron and all these French government people are very much in favor of it. And,
that is no surprise.
it is interesting how the Greens are always, for some reason, we're always hooked up with the Greens again as the only ones who are really supporting us.
Isn't the pirate parties in there, right? On the green.
Yeah, the Pirate Party is green is part of the Greens in the European because they had to like band together to get some seats because they are too small on their own. So
You know these guys are gonna flip their lids. We know if this thing passes, and then one of these guys uploads a picture of a Coke and then finds out that they can't.
yeah,
Well, I mean, those, they'll be able to upload whatever they want. Like these things only apply to us.
Yeah, I would say, to a political party, they're probably exempt if you're a elected official or in the party.
so there are 751 people in the parliament, and they can all vote. Like each vote counts. Uh, Now we are at 98 politicians who signed the pledge. They signed the pledge on pledge 2019.eu that they would vote against this ACTA law. So
Good.
98 steps forward, but it's a minority. Now I know some will still vote against it too, and they don't want to be listed on the pledge thing, but we
And
need a
there
lot more.
can people abstain, like they don't have to vote?
Yeah, they can. Yeah.
Well, there's always a couple of those in there.
Yeah. It doesn't need a majority to stop it. It needs to represent. If it doesn't get a majority against it, it needs to represent at least 35% of the European population. So if you have a few countries against it, and they are actually 35% of the population, let's say you have like Germany and Italy and France or whatever, these three countries could already block it on their own. So yeah.
Or for being so big, it's weighted in their favor a little bit. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, let's hope that it gets shot down. It really is so against the people, the internet. Like it's just not a good deal.
No, not one bit. It doesn't benefit anybody. This will really redefine how we think about the internet.
Yeah.
Like posting it. Oh fuck, is this copyrighted? I don't know.
Well,
Do I
I mean,
have to- do I
there's
have to
just
pay
so
money?
much, there's so much. Where do you, like most of these, it's never enough. Where do every company will want, a piece of their, product in whatever video you have. And I think of like YouTubers and live streamers a lot. How much in your room is copywritten?
Quite a bit.
Like, yeah, I mean, like everything that's in that picture, somebody, some company could say, no, that's mine. Take the video down.
Yeah, and I also think it will hit people from the USA much harder than you would expect, because I think companies like YouTube and Facebook or whatever, they won't make like two separate sites. They will abide by these rules on their main site. So I think the
Yeah, and
rest of the users also.
they'll probably develop back end, what you can and can't do based on your IP location, just like they already do.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, and then you have like things like, I mean, like Google has their data centers also in my country. They have huge data centers here, and I know Facebook has huge data centers in Ireland, for example, and it's in the European Union. So I'm thinking like they will probably have the same rules for most of their users, and yeah, it will actually change. And you're talking about, if you talk about the European Union, you're talking about, I think, like 300 million or 400 million internet users. I mean, the population is 550 million. So, yeah.
Yeah, it pretty much affects everybody in one way or another.
I think so too. Yeah.
All right. Do we have anybody in the comments?
Quite a bit.
Yeah, we got a lot of comments.
Let me see. Here, I'm not watching all of our streams. Let me see on Facebook. Let me see. Stop sharing Illuminati signs. Okay.
Ooh.
Are we doing that?
Yeah, who was doing that?
Well, yeah,
Oh,
well,
maybe they're
it's
talking about the all-seeing eye in
yeah.
the back.
That was meant to be
I-
a meme.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're talking about because we've got the all-seeing eye in the background. I think with that specifically, we're kind of bringing attention to the eye. We're not promoting it. You know what I mean?
It's a distorted eye too. I mean, it's modified.
Yeah.
We got Foo Crypt from Mark Lane. Fuki method. I never.
Fuki method.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Foo Crypt.
Yeah.
I think that has to do. That's an encryption software that someone's bringing light to.
Yeah.
Couple of shout outs to brother Zach. Wishing his family peace. Yeah. Kim, Cheryl, hey guys. Yeah, I mean, I definitely kind of, I don't know if, how much time we have or what's on the list, but I definitely want to talk about what's going on with the U.S. and passing these, anti-Semitic legislation recently,
I tried reading the fucking article, and I was like, dude, I'm confused about what the fuck is going on. Who's defending who? I'm reading it over and over again. Maybe it's just my dyslexia, trying to figure out what the fuck. But I'm who is or what the fuck is going on?
Okay, so we had a representative speak out about AI PAC, which has turned into this huge Well, I mean, the thing is, people are asking, well, why does Israel have any control over our government? And their immediate response is to show the amount of control that Israel has over our government. Right? So, I mean, that was really, really weird. And it wasn't like the representative that said it, that said anything, wasn't like she said anything anti-Semitic, just, hey, why is AI PAC giving our people all this money, and why are they doing what AI PAC says? Which I think is a legitimate question. The whole
thing, how constitutional is it to have some legislative bill that says you can't talk about something, or you can only talk this way? I mean, just give me a break, man. You people suck. Man.
We have a constitution that defines, in the First Amendment, what we can and can't say. That they have been elaborated on what is exactly a crime. You can't.
So
basically the only thing you can't say is you can't say I'm going to kill X, Y, and Z. Then you've committed a crime. But other than that, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Well, look, I mean, it comes to a point where, okay, so can I not talk about the International Criminal Court? International Criminal Court at this point is prosecuting Israel for war crimes. Am I mistaken? Is that not true?
Yeah.
And I have to support without question. I have to support another country that's being accused of war crimes without question. When did I ever sign allegiance to any other country, especially not one that's being accused of war crimes? I don't support any country. No country, right? America should be supporting no country that's being accused of war crimes. None.
Yeah, but we do it too.
That's not I personally don't support anybody, right, pursuing war crimes. I mean, one of the things we do on the show is specifically call out those war crimes when nobody else will.
Yeah.
Well, it's the most hypocritical law you could have. I mean, to have a bill that goes against the Constitution that you allegedly swear an oath to,
challenge it in court and be shot down.
Well, there's been several. So the Democrats have pushed through this thing recently in the last day here that has made Bernie Sanders, and I am really kind of disappointed in Bernie, signing this pledge to the Democratic Party. What, 2 months ago you told us that you don't have to go by the American people because you're a private organization, and now my politicians have to sign an oath to you? You're a private corporation. The only people that our government should ever have an oath to is the American people, not the DNC, not the Republican Party. Y'all are private organizations.
That's how it all gets subverted, though. I mean, this is how it's done right here.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I got to start questioning your loyalty. Are you loyal to the American people, or are you loyal to the DNC? Because you can't do both.
Not just that. Well, you're loyal to the Israelis too, because you no longer care about the Constitution. You're worried about some oath and some loyalty to Israel. That's got nothing to do with anything. You know?
Yeah, I can't speak out about you selling arms to a now, like, we're moving towards convicted international criminals, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand any of that. Israel has a complete right to exist, to defend itself, right to any of those things. You don't get to create a genocide in Palestine because of it.
No, and the International Criminal Court made it very clear. I mean, it is not an opinion or whatever. I mean, the destruction and the population transfer, they are a crime under the Rome Statute.
In my mind, there is nothing that is more. In my mind, there is nothing that is more anti-Semitic than genocide.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so if the question is, you know what I mean, is this an anti-Semitic whatever? If you were involved in genocide, right? I feel that there is nothing that is more anti-Semitic, that should be more disgusting than the Jewish people than genocide. Now, the country that's doing it that shouldn't matter at all, does it? Who's committing the genocide does not matter at all to me. It's wrong no matter which country, no matter what their name is, no matter where they're located on the planet, no matter what their cultural history is. You don't commit genocide. Fucking God. Right, that's it, right? So we can sell bombs. I gotta have undying allegiance to a country that at this very moment, and like, it doesn't have to be Israel. It doesn't have to be Israel, right? Go to Saudi Arabia. Fair enough, right? Fuck you guys. You're all genocidal psychopaths, and I don't think that we should be selling weapons to anybody that's a genocidal psychopath. If you're murdering innocent people right now, America should not be selling you weapons. No fucking way.
Yeah, and but it's
yeah,
also
we ain't in the arming Nazi business. That's not what we do.
No, but it is also the definition people use for the word Semites, right? Because Semites pretty much refers to all the people who actually spoke the ancient Semitic languages, and that is not just the Jewish people. So yeah.
Yeah, they've appropriated that label as if it's Jewish, and it's not. It's not about them.
Well, and I urge people to go out and like the Rabbis for Palestine, I think, is one. The Jewish Voice for Peace is another. I would urge people to go and listen to what actual Jewish scholars, and I'm talking like religiously Jewish, not just the country of Israel, which is what all of us, not the country of Israel, but the genocide that's going in, are fighting about. Right, and I would urge people to go and listen to what those brothers and sisters over there have to say, because there's some serious truth in there, some serious history in there, and the point that, look, we're not against any country, we're against genocide. The country doesn't matter. That's something that people are using, right, to continue on genocide. Well, you can't say anything about it because this happened. What? Because this happened, because the Jewish genocide happened in Germany, we are required to speak out against this genocide.
Yeah, and what you also can say, like, I don't think there are many people in Europe who hate Americans, but I think you can find many people in Europe who hate the American government. That's also another thing, like for waging wars and stuff. But I don't think there are many people who
even to the point that it gets to the it gets to the point where we don't, several of us, I'm a veteran, many of us are veterans. We don't hate the soldiers, right? We hate these endless wars for profit.
Of course.
And they like to muddle those too, like, oh well, if you don't support the wars, if you don't support this genocide, you're not American, right? It's part of American culture to support this genocide. Technically, it is, but we don't want it to be. You know what I mean?
It's all about herding politicians into little niches with these nonsensical arguments. So if you say anything against it, oh well, you're not part of the club. It's a silly game. It doesn't even it doesn't even make sense.
But then all of that actual, we can't even talk about genocide because we went off on, any speaking out against Israelis' actions in Gaza or Palestine is anti-Semitic, is what they've pretty much said now. And these are the same people that were pushing that, you can't, in the state of New York, you can't boycott Israeli products. You're telling me I can't boycott any product that I want to? Israeli or not, I should be able to boycott any fucking thing I want to. It's America still, right?
Yeah, not really. America. America.
And this isn't like it really like it bothers me so much. Like that whole thing bothers me so much because what she's talking about is 100% true. Why does another country have all this influence on ours? And it's not like you can say you guys aren't the things that's going on are real. Right, the war crimes are real. There's like actual war crimes. Bibi himself is being, has got what 4 counts against him now. So corruption, embezzlement, like money laundering, and some other political corruption charge. Like, how many war criminals do I have to bow my head to? You're requiring me to bow my head to a war criminal. And it's not like you can, you're not making this stuff up, right? I'm not charging the man with being a war criminal. I know he's a goddamn war criminal. You're the guys are the ones that seem to take decades to figure this shit out. Oh well, the International Criminal Court found that they were shooting journalists, people that were handicapped and women. Well, no shit. Really? Thanks. We'll put that on CNN. No shit.
We had press that told us normally you're not supposed to engage with like a 50 cal or heavier. That's just supposed to be anti-vehicle. But if you shoot if you target personnel with a heavy weapon like that, you just have to say you're aiming for their gear. I was aiming for his canteen. Oops, hit him in the stomach. He was moving, ripped him in half. Oh well, I was aiming at his canteen, so I didn't break. I technically didn't violate the IRO.
Yeah, the Geneva Convention.
But our battalion commander wasn't able to get off the plane when we were in Europe because they would have
charged him with war crimes.
The United Nations would have taken him into custody.
Well, I mean, I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, you guys can back me up, I don't think George Bush has left the country since 9/11, or since the general, yeah, the general population came to the conclusion that he's a war criminal. No, like everybody agrees he lied to the American people and got us in an endless fucking quagmire and caused millions of people and thousands of American soldiers to die, right? We're all in agreement of that. But for some reason, shit, George Bush, he's not a war criminal, right? He can do whatever he wants. Paint in Texas, do his thing.
I want to say he and Cheney, and there's a few others, they stay out of Europe. Well,
because there was
certain reasons.
France has arrested a couple of people high-ranking, but no Americans throughout the years. But yeah, they don't leave the country. I just, the thing is, like, why should any American be required to bow their head to war criminals? Pick somebody that's not a war criminal. That would help.
Well, especially when they have no business telling you that.
Well, I mean
that's the incredible part. It's like, geez, it's like
you're making politicians sign a contract that they will not speak out against genocide. Like, am I missing something?
Well, no, this is the same thing they always do. They want to think, well, hey, we are a corporate political party, so we can do what we want. And once again, that's not true because you are allegedly conducting a needed federal function. You can't just do whatever the fuck you want. So that's the big convolution right there. Well, they think they can. And you're not supposed to, but they get away with it, because nobody enforces anything. They have no business telling you that, from a number of angles. The Constitution, the fact that you're corporate, which you're not completely. I mean, you have a function, a role to play. That's it. You don't just get to make up rules.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I see it like, that they've made up this new rule that on several levels, like, do we no longer, I mean, obviously you no longer have freedom of speech. You can't speak out against anyone, against anything.
That's what they're telling you. Yeah. And that's not true. I mean, on many levels, you just don't tell people, hey,
that have been said recently, right? The tweets and everything. There was nothing anti-Semitic. There was nothing about the Jewish people. There was asking, hey, why is this pack, right, influencing our government in support of genocide? And by extension, why should a foreign country have any influence on the American government? And their answer to that is to immediately have all of our politicians sign a paper, demanding allegiance to another country. It does my head in.
Well, it's Zionist propaganda. Of course they're going to tell you that, because if you'll believe it, then they win. If you believe that shit, then and fall for it, then yeah, it's a win for them.
Well, it obviously, they threatened to kick her off of the Security Councils, and a lot of, there was enough pressure for her to sign it.
Well, because they have no backbone. The average politician. Come on. What do you see? They'll cave into anything. You hand them a check, a pretty small check, by the way. They'll sell the country out for $10,000-$100,000. It doesn't take much.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes a couple $1,000s. What, fucking Kamala Harris?
Yeah.
As long as the Trumps were paying, she was more than happy to take that money.
That's right. Yeah, they're one of the big donors from not that long ago.
Oh yeah, so for her rise through California, that was paid for in part by the Trumps, the Trumps themselves, the Trump Foundation, and then Melania Trump a couple of times all by herself, to the tune of, I think it was $10,000 altogether for from them at a time. Nice.
He's a good Democrat, but you got Republicans that are so dumb they still haven't figured that out. That's the amazing part. They still think he's a Republican. It's like, really?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I'd say, to be honest, there's been nobody that's done more damage to the Republican Party than Trump, but there's been nobody to do more damage to the Democrats than the Democrats.
Yeah. Sticking with Hillary's doing him a lot of good.
I want them to change the name of the DNC to "Don't Nominate Clintons." It's an immediate loss. But no, to get back to it, I feel like there's so much that you can't speak out about, and it was all kind of proven in this last week. How dare you speak out against genocide? And then to go through and make actual legislation first to swear allegiance to the DNC, which is wrong on one level, and then to swear allegiance to not speak out against anything. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, they don't.
We already
have free speech here.
Yeah, we already have rules. You can't come out and say racist shit on the Senate floor. That's for. Happy you guys waited till 2019 to do that with all the racist shit that's been said. Right, until real recently, you had active members of the KKK serving there, and you're like, well, that's their right, that's their own personal view, right? But then, in 2019, you need to put your foot down. You're right. Yeah, I think it exposed quite a bit. On what you can and can't say that free speech is an illusion.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it,
does any of this get enforced though? They have these resolutions and all these politically binding agreements and this shit all the time, but it's just like something you say. I think they just say it. Even at that level, I don't think that means anything. It's like, okay, we'll go along, but it's like, because these politicians, they're going to do whatever the hell they want anyway. They'll say anything.
Yeah, to get what they want. I think that some of it is that and we all know it, Democratic Party is extremely vindictive. So they wouldn't come out and just, and take you out, but they will try to destroy your career, and they will do everything they possibly can to stab you in the back. They won't do it directly. Even here, they won't do it directly, right? It's all through behind closed doors and, veiled threats, and we'll kick you off a council if you speak out against genocide. Those kind of things. We're not going to kick you out of the Senate. That would be legal, but, we control who sits on the committees, and, if you're going to fight us on these arms deals, you got to go, lady. right? That's what they're telling you.
Yeah, I mean, look how the committees are stacked. I mean, you put like the most partisan people. I mean, for both sides, they're always stacked in these committees. You know, so you know how that's going to go.
Oh, the same direction every time. Like they never say no.
No, because both sides are bought off. It's like you're doing this as a show. It's just a 1 hour show to make it look like something's going on and something's getting debated. But if you look at everybody on the panel, they're all bought and paid for. You already know where this is going. That's the nonsense of it.
Well, yeah, and if you ever say, okay, well, it's not a done deal, right? You don't have to sell this next version of surface-to-air missile, right? You don't have to do that, right? You don't have to sell the guns, the planes, the weird airborne spray drugs, right? You don't have to do any of that. But they act like you have no choice, right? If we don't support the continued war, right? What? We end the war, that's it. But they act like if you don't support it, that the whole system's gonna collapse, and there'll be, you know, death in the street, and ISIS is gonna come over and steal your grandmother.
Well, if we don't do the terrible thing, then somebody else will do the terrible thing, whatever that terrible thing is.
Yeah.
And then we'll be behind the military curve because they did that terrible thing. And yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, you get into that. Well, we had to keep Saddam Hussein from killing any more of his own people. Yeah, fuck, man. Thanks.
Yeah, because the truth is, well, if Saddam's not killing him, well, then we'll just step in there and do it for him in his place. I mean, they're still going to die.
And to an extent that he could have never hoped to achieve. You know, if Saddam Hussein was killing all day, all night, he would have not been able to get the numbers that we've got in freeing the American. I mean, getting weapons of mass. Fighting Al Qaeda or
whatever
ISIS.
the fuck it was at the time.
Yeah, sorry. I feel I get confused on exactly what we're doing. It changes every couple of years. Or Assad. No. We're fighting Assad, I think.
Well, we're always spreading freedom and democracy. That's for sure. I mean, because it always happens everywhere we go.
These are freedom bullets.
Love bombs and freedom bullets. Yeah.
Well, you saw that there's an American flag painted on the side.
On the bullet?
Yeah.
America. Well, I remember there was this thing that we should because we fire so many bullets into the world. We started polluting the environment with literally lead poisoning. So we make our bullets out of non-less lead-based metals now. And I've always thought that that's absolutely hilarious. That, I mean, you know, the lead poisoning is great, but I mean, you just shot me. I'm more upset the fact that you shot the bullet, not that it's made out of lead. Right? I don't think you're really taking into consideration what the problem is. I'm tired of you guys coming over here and shooting us with lead bullets. Oh, we'll take the lead out. Happy? No. I'm really unhappy about you coming over here and shooting me. The lead part was an extra bit of shittiness. But no, our government right away. Well, rest assured, the bullet that kills your child now will not have lead in it.
Yeah, because we're going to protect the birds, because we're not going to shoot them with lead either. You know, we're going to shoot them with barium or something instead. So, yeah, it's better for the environment.
Monsanto assures us that it's good for you.
We'll hit you with some GMO pellets.
That's why. Yeah, just start dumping Monsanto corn seed over the Middle East and see how long people start fucking dying of cancer. Quick, to be honest. Quick.
We'll starve them. They'll get food for one season and they're dead. You know.
Well, unless you buy my Monsanto seeds.
Yeah.
You wanna undo the economy of fucking Syria? You get Monsanto involved. You won't grow shit in this country anymore. Oh crap! That's hilarious in the worst way.
Yeah, that's not even funny. We shouldn't be laughing.
No. When countries are relieved when they find out that it's just Agent Orange. Right?
And
Yeah. Last time the corporations. Don't worry, guys. It's bombers. Last time it was the corporations that came in and fucked up our whole infrastructure.
yeah, that excuse. Well, the war was an excuse for some chemical trading there. I mean, selling it. Number one, that was the important thing. But seeing if it works. We got all this stuff laying around that we've created. We need to sell it.
Oh, some of it, like we don't, we know that the rules are going to change. It's like phosphorus. So we'll know the rules are going to change. So we got the orders to just, use as much of it as you possibly can. Right? Dump every bit of phosphorus that you have out before it becomes illegal. I mean, at that point, you already know it's a war crime, but you're doing it anyway. Right? Well, it's coming down the pipe, so let's murder as many people as we can with it before it becomes illegal. It reminds me of like the World War I generals that know the war's over, but continue to fight because, well, I didn't get the direct order to stop yet. Right? It's been signed, right? The rest of the world knows that the war is over, but you want to keep fighting to...
Well, yeah, they were blowing the shit out of it. Yeah, up till 11 o'clock, weren't they? They were pumping it out, just blowing the shit out of everything till
well, the war it doesn't officially end to 11, so everybody keep on murdering until 11. I'm gonna be honest. Can we just wrap it up, man? Like, I don't know. Like, you can think back that the scariest thing ever was when peace broke out over Christmas time, right? The soldiers just said, "Hey, let's quit murdering each other for a little bit," and they were worried that this would just be the end of the war. Oh my God, the soldiers have quit murdering each other for us. What do we do? For that one moment, right? We had real freedom. That was it. Should have just kept on with that. That was the Christmas armistice? Was that the Christmas ceasefire? What was that called? I have to go and look it up.
That was early in the war. Yeah, when it was on the Eastern soldiers Front. Kind of gave up on each other. Yeah.
Yeah, it started with somebody singing "O Tannenbaum," Christmas Tree, which everybody pretty much sings a version of it. I think the Germans started singing it, and like the English, or I forget which country was on the other side, started singing it too. And then it just got out of control, right? Just fucking peace all across the line. Nightmare for those that make their money off of death. But again, I guess we can't speak out against that.
It's anti-Jewish, isn't it?
That's just man. That just blows my mind.
Zionist propaganda says we can't do that.
Well, I mean, it makes me look at someone like they have lost their fucking mind. When you stand up and you're like, look, America should always be against genocide, and their immediate answer is, how dare you speak out against Israel? First of all, that is not what I said. But it shows, right, what kind of nightmare we're dealing with.
Yeah, that's just their way of telling you, hey, look, you've gone down the wrong path, Terrence. You need to sign this right here. Here's what we're signing on to, and it's the diversion for the whole thing. So here you go. You can't talk about it.
Which is why I could never work. I couldn't be a senator. Like, if that's what you have to do, like, fuck, man, I can't do this.
No, you can redefine.
Well, or you just,
I ain't redefining shit. I'm not signing that.
I would just, if I would push it to the point of, hey, I'll sign this, but it really don't mean nothing. I'm not gonna honor that. So, hey, there's your signed piece of paper. Go show everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't mean anything. Okay, I'll sign it. So what?
Yeah, I'll sign the shit out of it. Enjoy.
It's non-binding or whatever. It's like makes you feel better. It's fuck off.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I would have just told him to fuck off. No, I'm good. But don't you want to sign? No, I don't. I don't. But you know what I mean? Who knows? Like I know that Nancy Pelosi said she had a long talk with the people involved. I don't know what threats she gave them. Just said, hey, you'll be off every council, and we'll kick you off of the. She didn't understand the weight of calling out. Remember when the Democrats were all saying that they weren't taking any more PAC money? Remember that? Because AI PAC doesn't count, huh?
Right.
That the only PAC you can take money from now?
If they don't, they're in trouble.
Yeah, the only PAC that you have to take money from. Like, you don't get a choice. You will take AI PAC money.
Well, it's just like signing the pledge. It's like sign the pledge and take the money. You know?
God, that's fucked up. Like, everything about that is wrong. Like, I hope people realize. I mean, I we're not the only ones that see this. We can't be. I will
think
say,
some
like,
people.
he signed all the things, but then Bernie took a pretty like strong stance in support. So I don't know where he stands with that. Really, it's hard to tell.
To me, Bernie is like any of the. He will say and do anything to keep his base and try to keep something going. I have to lump him in with a lot of others because it's just like letting Hillary run over him in the last election. It's like you don't really stand for anything, not even yourself. You don't give a fuck.
Yeah, like I want, I'm always a pretty hopeful guy. So I mean, I definitely I want Bernie to fucking do it, man. Revolution.
Be real.
Yeah, be real. Like you don't need any of these people, right? You don't need them. Like the Democrat. Look, fuck, man. Bernie does not need the Democratic Party. He'd be more popular as an independent, right? Democratic Party needs Bernie. There's such a difference.
Yeah, he does have the charisma, and he's got a good history and stuff of doing his votes, and he stands for what he believes in. And but then at the end, like when you see such a thing happening with Hillary again, and you're shocked. I mean, I'm not only talking as an outsider here. I'm not really into American politics, but I do like when I listen to this Bernie guy. I mean, I'm very impressed by it, and I always see them like they're like painting him as like a communist or like a socialist, but I can say that in most European countries he would be more like in the middle, so to speak. He's would not be considered a socialist at all. So
holy cow,
yeah.
Bad.
No, he's pretty.
I mean,
he's pretty good. He'd be on the conservative side.
Yeah, well, I mean, in many European countries there is already a free education, and there always was a free healthcare and all these things, and they are.
Well, and then the scale's a little different, right? They still got brown shirts, so.
No, those are that too. Yeah.
The scale's a little bit different and skewed. I mean, a lot of the things that people agree on are not really all that radical. I don't hear Bernie saying very much radical stuff, and that really. That bothers me sometimes. I don't know what happened in the last election. Fuck, I would love the opportunity to just ask him straight up, why? Why did you vote? Why did you support Hillary Clinton? Or just, if you get the chance to interview him, just like, Bernie, come on, man. If you're being held against your will, blink twice. Blink twice, Bernie. Bernie, blink if they're holding your family hostage.
What I always feel weird about is that concept of saying that, for example, that free education is kind of like anti-capitalist or something. I don't really understand that, because I think it actually feeds for a stronger capitalist society. But that's just my opinion.
Our college system is only a private school system right now. So every college is a private school. We don't really. And because of that, they don't want to pull up from it. It's another one of those situations where it's like, yeah, it's totally better for the American people. It's better for the world. The more educated we are, the better. And that education needs to be free. Like access to it needs to be for everybody. But yet the system is built to make the colleges money. They're private institutions. And we're always fighting that same corporate mindset. Well, if we do it this way, the two guys that are sitting on that board aren't going to make as much money, and we have to cry them a river for some reason. The excuse of profit is always the deal.
It's the fascist. It's the fascist viewpoint versus the socialist viewpoint. The fascist viewpoint is always looking to maximize the buck out of whatever, rigged system that they've created. The socialist, it's more designed for the people. That's what I would say. The mindset and the viewpoint of it is more people oriented. Here, it's more corporate oriented, and you see the result. I mean, because something like education doesn't cost that much, honestly. In the big.
No, but I mean, what if you're if you're born as a poor person, you're not necessarily more stupid than being born than when you're born as a rich person. And
True.
if you want to compete with like economies like China and stuff, right? And you need the smart technicians and you need the smart workers, and so wouldn't it be wise to let the poor people be educated into the high tech jobs and stuff too?
Well, I mean, I think
Like,
some of it is that there is a guy that's from a family that's struggling right now, that's smarter than every elite 1%er out there, and that's what they fear. Right? So I mean, your little inbred bastard probably isn't going to go anywhere, right? You know what I mean? He's had, everything provided for and given him to him. He's not all that smart. The only reason he's in an Ivy League school is because you're rich. Right, where there's somebody that's at the bottom there that's more brilliant than you would ever be, than that person would ever be. Right, you look at the difference. Look at the Trump's family. Right, like all of his kids go to elite Ivy schools. They're dumb as fucking rocks.
yeah,
Right, so they do fear that when that Ivy League school doesn't get you anywhere anymore. Right, your grades get you there. Whether you were smart gets you there. Right, whether you stayed focused gets you there. Right, but the system we have now, right, you get to go to that school because your parents have money,
and
then when you get out of that school, you get to act like you're special. Well, I went to Harvard. Well, yeah, but you're still a dumb fuck. That's the problem.
Well, and then even more important, I was a member of some secret society at one of these schools. Well, now you're plugged in.
Yeah,
This is how it works in their world. That's how it works. The rest of it doesn't matter. If you go to any other school, you can't get plugged in that way. It's for them.
Yeah, like you don't have and I think you don't have the ring, and that's the reason why you see things go. I said from the very beginning, one of the reasons the world that we live in is the way it is because our leaders are dumb as fuck. Right? They are only a two-trick pony. Right? They only understand the very bare minimum of anything is why you only have them come up with ideas that are war. Right? That's it. Because that's the kind of people. They're that stupid. That's all they know. That's all that you could explain to them. That's all that they could possibly understand is money for war. Right? So when you ask them to fix any sort of problem, they don't know how to deal with that.
Well, they don't even want to hear it. On top of that, they don't even want to hear it.
Oh yeah, I don't think, but I mean, even if they could, I don't think, there comes a point where they don't understand it. You're not smart enough to understand it.
Well, that's how I think they passed a lot of these internet laws. You're talking internet protocols and standards and all this stuff to a group of lawyers, and it's all over their head. There's no way in hell a lawyer is going to understand any of that shit. They understand control and what they think they're going to control something by implementing something, but they don't even understand what they're talking about. That is the problem. And
they don't want. I mean, I think some of it is they don't want to. I mean, like to step back, and there are good lawyers out there and all of that. But I mean, come on, it's pretty well established. There are two groups of people on this planet you cannot trust, and that's lawyers and politicians. And yet, those are the only two people that we have in government. Right. So I mean, if a person will defend a murderer, right, because they pay him, that's who you want making your laws. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. See, there's nothing wrong with what do you call it when you're lobbying your government. Lobbying is not bad. You that's a function, to get access to your but where the politicians go wrong is they think, well, look, everybody that is a lobbyist that hands me money, I have to do something for them, and that's not the case. They're just lobbying you. If what they're asking you is against the law or against the Constitution, you're not supposed to do it, you stupid ass. That's what you're supposed to do.
Or even against
they
your
just
people.
say, oh, they'll take the check and they'll go, oh, okay, well, for $10,000, fuck yeah, I'll sign that bill. Yeah.
Yeah, shit, write it up, send it in my office. I won't even read it, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's just that's where it all goes wrong.
And there's and there's comes to that you have to stand up for your constituents and your people. And it's fine if a company wants to donate some money to your campaign, that's fine. But then you don't owe them anything. And that's where it starts. You don't know anything to anybody other than your constituents, and they don't get into that. Where I'd love one of those oil companies to donate some money. So you're gonna pass that pipeline? No, 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 no.
Well, no, just listen to how
But
they
thanks for
talk.
the check.
Yeah, that's how they talk. It's like, well, I have to think about my donors. It's like it's always the donors first. They never say, oh, well, we're about to, except maybe a Ron Paul, or I mean, a very few handful, maybe 4 or 5 guys will come up with that. Otherwise, it's like, well, I have to be thinking about my donors, and it's like, really? Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, since when?
Yeah,
why is that the first thing you're worried about?
Yeah, the donors.
Then it's just like, oh, okay, well, then never mind. No sense in talking to you. Because
Yeah,
it's all about your
for some
money.
reason you're not allowed to look in the Constitution and be like, wow, it really doesn't say shit about your donors in here.
Then
it says a lot about the American people. Says a lot about what you're supposed to do for the American people, but yeah, it doesn't mention your donors not one time.
No. So it's just the subversion of it all. It's all but complete.
I think there's always, I guess the struggle is always going on. I do think we have, the opportunity now more than ever. People are waiting for it. It's whether they're going to go through and actually do it. Whether they're going to actually stand up for the people. Like it seems sometimes, the Bernies, the AOCs, the Tulsi Gabbards, it seems like they're down. And they'll turn around and do something like that. I don't know if Tulsi, by the way, I don't know if Tulsi signed it or not, because I know she's been pretty outspoken about the war in Iraq and the genocide in Palestine, and so I don't know right away whether she signed that or not.
And that's the last trick. See, that's the last thing they can play is it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll do this for you, but then nobody ever looks. Well, what did they actually vote for when the vote came up? So they can always, they're on TV. It's like, well, I supported this. Well, yeah, you said it on TV, but then, did you vote for it? Probably not. I mean, the endless games. I mean, you have to dig so deep to follow these politicians and call them out on their shit and all the rest of it. It's just ridiculous. Like, who has the time to do that? Not that it does any good, the few people that, that do, and then you point out, oh, well, hey, you lied to us. It's like, oh, yeah, well, hey, I lied to you, so what? It's just nothing means to anything to these people.
Well, we used to have this thing called the news media, right? And they would have these people, investigative reporters, and they would go and seek out the truth and kind of expose these things are going on. That job doesn't exist anymore. So that's kind of fucked it up a little bit. So I mean, Deep Throat today would be arrested and put into prison.
Yeah.
By all, that was a leak from the government, right? About the government. Even if they prosecute the people that were involved, that you let out, that they prosecute Nixon and all of that, they still would have persecuted the person that leaked the information, right? Give us who Deep Throat is, so we can arrest them. We don't want them telling the truth. But I mean that, that's one of the biggest, stories of investigative reporting and all of that. All of those people would be in jail today in 2019. Especially if they were able to use, the terrorism word.
Yeah, you can't do it even if you're in the government. I mean, they have all these laws that protect you. Look, that guy, what is it, John Kiriakou? He tries to go through the process there, about 15 years ago, and they throw him in jail. So.
Well, my favorite is Obama came out and said when one of the WikiLeaks scandals came down. He came out and how did he say that? That there are, that you don't have to leak information, that there are, that there are avenues for the whistleblower laws to protect you and all of that. And then, well, I mean, yeah, but the whistleblower laws don't count for Homeland Security and the people that were leaking the information. So yeah, there are whistleblower laws, but those don't count for any of the shit that you were doing. That doesn't. Then what's the point of a whistleblower law?
Yeah, if you're going to use a sedition statute that never got used hardly at all, and now you're using it against the media. Well, that was for hardcore spies, man.
Yeah,
That
it was
wasn't
supposed to be for spies, not people showing your corruption.
Yeah,
Or your
that's where
illegal, I think it
Obama
was the
really
illegal
went.
drone program
Yeah.
that one was.
That's where he really went wrong. But Obama's just another one, man. I mean, he'll say anything and then do something else. It doesn't mean anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, like Trump gets shit for coming out and lying on TV, and that's true. But I remember Obama coming out and saying that there was no secret drone program. Remember that?
Oh yeah, when it was already out that it was there. I mean, it had been out for how long? 10 years. Like, even his press secretary was like, "I'm lying about something that's already public information." It's like it's retarded.
Yeah, and then boom, right away, like a couple of leaks, and he was back to well, I wanted to tell you, but it was secret. It was secret. There was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could do. Well, did you shut it down? Yeah, we stopped bombing children. We stopped the drone program altogether. Can I check? No, you can't. No. It's secret.
They're just fucking around with the narrative all the
there's
time.
no way you can. If you stop doing it, you should be able to show me, right?
It's like, because you're talking to a liar, it never goes anywhere. You're always, at the end of the day, you're always going to get that smile and the next lie. That's all you get from liars. Just on and on.
These are bad people.
I hate to interrupt you guys. I did post a link to a GoFundMe in our streams to Zach's family. Apparently, they need help with the funeral costs. So you guys feel free to donate. This is the first time we've ever done anything on this show, but
please.
Yeah, if you can, it'll help out the family a lot.
And I know there was a couple of people that posted, sending out their love and hope and prayers and all of that to the family. Now would be a good time to put a little bit of that. It doesn't have to be. None of us are rich. None of us are. Expect our viewers to be rich. But everybody puts in $10, and you'd be surprised how quick it adds up.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. That's what crowdfunding's all about. And the people that are struggling, $100 to the good can make all of the difference. The tears it'll bring to somebody's eyes that people still cared. If you want to show your support, that'd be a good way to do it. So yeah, I don't think we've ever actually posted a GoFundMe on here before.
Well, it's for an Anon, so.
Yeah.
This is the first GoFundMe, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can find it in the YouTube chat, and I'm sure it's posted on the Facebook thing too already. So
we never pushed any of Thor stuff. Any GoFundMe out there?
No.
Yeah,
accidentally,
I don't think he needs our help. You know what I mean? I think he's doing his thing. He's got a farm. I think he's doing just fine. Oh goodness. Yeah, so I mean, did we talk about any of the Yellow Vest TV that's coming out?
I'm not even up to par what's going on. It seems like sabotage after sabotage.
Yellow Vest TV. Well, that sounds interesting. Yeah, because it's hard to get any clips or anything out of there. I mean, like RT Deutschland's where I got to go to get anything. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, even up to Canada, there is like zero coverage of anything with Yellow Vest attached to it. So I was happy to see the YTTV or YVTV come out.
Yeah, I don't know. It is this is the most loved movement in France, I think, and it is the most hated movement in France too by others. So it is very difficult.
Yeah, it's time to go to the next stage. I mean, it's like, how long has it been going on? 3 months? It's like, come on. I mean, just start burning down some ministries and get this over with. I mean, just like fucking around, just wearing everybody out.
The sun.
Yeah, Macron's a piece of shit. Just get rid of him.
Yeah, and I mean, is there no confidence votes in France? Because I mean, we don't have an ability to have a no confidence vote for our leadership, unfortunately. But I was wondering if there's something like that in the French system. I don't know right off.
I'm sure there is. Anytime you have like a parliament system, it usually is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Macron is kind of like a powerful figure. You have to beat him in the elections, and it will happen. But the alternative, I don't know if that's even better. But Let's just wait for that. You have
Yeah, and I
two
mean
big candidates.
he hasn't really slowed down the fuckery really.
No.
Well, no, it's just like as long as he's not getting threatened, this is the way it's going to be. You're at that moment where you either do it or they win.
Well,
That's
you know,
where you're at.
you have to give them the illusion that maybe they can win, or they'll do the exact opposite. So I mean, you might even see this, you know, if you know, somebody comes up, Bernie or whoever it is, ends up being super popular, knowing that they'll lose, they'll go through and try to push through a whole bunch of really shitty legislation. And the other side will let it go through because then they can blame it on the other guy. Like, hey, I didn't do it. This was Obama's fault. You know, I didn't do it. This was Trump's fault, and now there's just nothing I can do, right? And they'll use that as an excuse when they know they're going to get rid of an unpopular leader.
Yeah, and in this case, it is you're dealing with the alternative to Macron are two candidates. Is Le Pen on the right, and it is Mélenchon on the left, and both are really big populists. And the danger with populists is with such populists is that you don't know what their actual goal will be when they're in power. You just don't know it. They just repeat the popular sentiments. Like,
yeah, they just say whatever
whenever,
the crowd says back at them until they get elected.
yeah, yeah, and so you really don't know what's going to happen when they're in power, and that's always a risk. And at least with Macron, you did know that, even if it is a fucked up policy. But yeah.
What do you stand for? Nothing. Who are you
Rothschilds,
helping?
yay.
No one.
Rothschild's Bank, yay.
Yeah, he was an employee.
Yeah,
from
what
a
was it?
bank.
I didn't post it because I hate the bastards. But J.P. Morgan Chase stopped funding private prisons altogether. So because of the outcry with the children in cages and the immigration and, you know, private prisons in general, yeah, J.P. Morgan Chase is going to stop investing in private prisons altogether. And they added it to whatever their constitution for the bank is, right, for industries that they don't get involved in. So that's definitely a win. You know, that's no small investor. Now, I didn't post it because, you know, fuck J.P. Morgan Chase. But it is a step in the right direction. So, yeah, that's as close to a pat on the back as they will get for me. But, you know, they got a long way to go. But that is definitely a good, you know, a good step in the right direction.
What else? I forgot to mention this. I only talked to John about this back end, but there's a scandal that I caught from a bank that got hacked. Thursday, Wednesday? No, was it Monday? Monday.
Are you talking about the
Capital One?
Capital One?
Yeah, Capital One got hacked back end. They're not saying it, but it was enough for them to shut down their database and their credit card services for 12 hours. They posted on Twitter that they were having technical difficulties, but they didn't say exactly what. And then they deleted everything. They deleted all evidence that it even happened to try and, I believe, to try and cover up for their quarterly report for their investors.
Oh yeah, they definitely, you know, they'll take off or scrub things for, you know, negative posts or negative information. And it does have a big effect on investors. So I mean, anytime, like, I'll give you an example, anytime that Air Monsanto, right, has a dip, fuck, we are all over it, all over the investment pages, right, all over anybody that would have money involved with it. Just does have an effect on especially day traders and people that are investing. So yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, they
kind of common tactic.
They kind of had it coming. They charge people 30% interest and an annual membership fee. You know, the rates that they charge people is insane. Props to whoever fucking took their database. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, they're right on the, you know, Capital One was right on the edge. I mean, of legality in the interest rates they charge people.
Yeah, like, could you imagine having a $50,000 balance and having 30% interest. You know how much that would be?
Yeah, I mean, look, the mafia only charges fucking 15%.
Yeah.
Well, so you
You're
just
better
walk
off
away.
going-
You go, "Oh, the hell with it," Just
Well, I mean, it's not. It's one of those things. Like, if you get look, if you get a loan and buy a house from the mafia, worst that's going to happen is he's going to break your legs, right? Like, he's not a monster. He's not going to throw you and your family out of your home. Like, you'd have to be a fucking psychopath. So yeah, I would like if you're going to deal with those kinds of loans, you're better off with your local fucking loan shark than you are with these credit card companies and payday loan places.
Yeah, I never heard about this whole Capital One thing, but when Tyler sent me that that stuff, I did have a look, and they got like a serious PR team because there were literally guys on Twitter saying, "Yeah, my bank stuff is down almost all day, but I still love you guys."
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were angry people saying that they couldn't make payments with their credit cards.
Oh, I'm sure that was. I mean, right away, nothing says troll more than them posting on there and saying, "Well, make sure to make your payment this month, even if your card doesn't work." Boy, I sure am looking looking forward to making my payment, and not like everybody like crossing their fingers that Capital One's going down for good and you don't have to owe them any of that money. Like everybody that owned a Capital One card was crossing their fingers that hopefully this was it. This is some Fight Club shit. They're gonna erase the debt. Fuck Capital One. Nobody was getting on there wondering where they could make their payments.
Yeah. What did they say about Fight Club? Don't talk about Fight Club. I'm playing.
Yeah, come on. Like nobody. Boy, I sure hope I can make my payment. That is not what you were thinking. I sure hope those hackers got rid of them for good.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised. I was actually kind of surprised when I logged onto their site and it said down. I was like, this has never happened.
Yeah, there's a couple. They don't go down very often for those, and I mean, I know they have heaps of redundancy, and yeah, it was definitely whoever did it. It's definitely skilled. You watch, they're running some. They got some computer running XP somewhere.
That was kind of like what happened last month with Wells Fargo going down. They were saying that it was a technical. They had technical problems, but nobody could access anything at given times. It was 100% somebody was DDoSing them. Like 100%. They just didn't come out and say it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, there's been a lot going on. I know, I don't know which levels are up or down right now, but level 3 was been down for a while, or level 1, sorry, has been down for a while. I know it's been like back and forth. I don't know what the deal is, if that has anything to do with it, if it's all the same attack.
Oh, you mean the layer 3 attacks? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that goes on like all the time, but yeah, 100%. You know, I guarantee it was targeted by an activist group.
Oh, Wells Fargo is
Yeah.
one of the bad ones. Holy crap! Do not have your
German
money in
payment
Wells
systems.
Fargo.
German payment systems did have problems almost all day too, to the earlier today. I don't know if it was an attack or whatever, but usually it is all up. So
Is Operation Icarus still going on? Holy shit.
yeah, well, these are targeted attacks. I don't know, but it's
They don't, yeah, because they don't say that they're getting DDoS, and they don't know how to combat it.
Yeah, I sleep better at night knowing that they're actively being DDoSed. Is that wrong?
No, that's okay.
Like if that's the last thing that I read in the day, I sleep well. Ah, yeah. Fuck Wells Fargo.
Yeah, Wells Fargo has like shady past besides opening up savings account and funding things that shouldn't be funded, but they've also fucked over people in the crypto in the crypto world where they were they were the only liaison for certain back end for some exchanges there, and to switch it out to fiat out of some of the back end of these Chinese exchanges for cryptocurrency, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we can't do this anymore because we're in a fuckload of trouble with the SEC. So,
It's like, okay, we got caught. Sorry. Yeah. All right, we'll quit doing that. Yeah. Wells Fargo's got a long history of screwing people. I mean, I think we're up to 150-year history of screwing people.
What else is going on? We have so Facebook has been taking down anti-vaccination posts. I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum. I mean, you guys that are anti-vaxxers, you guys can do whatever you want, and if you believe whatever you want. But I don't believe that Facebook has the right to say that what you can and can't post. So that's another thing that that Facebook has been doing.
Yeah, like I don't. I mean, yeah, I mean the anti-vaxxer thing, like, you have to get your vaccinations.
Well, I mean, like my only argument is that this whole measles crisis wouldn't have happened if people would have got their shots. But then again, measles doesn't really kill anybody, so it's not really an issue. I don't know.
I mean, it does. Like it does. It can cause all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
But what's that have to do with a Facebook page?
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know. That's why Facebook is in bed with the NIDH or the CDC and other government entities that are telling them to get rid of the post. So Facebook will take down your anti-vaccination post, which you have a First Amendment right here in the United States, and I believe that it applies to a public stage, which is known as Facebook. So you should have the right to post whatever the fuck you believe in. I mean, if you want to worship snakes or do whatever, do crazy backflips, and I don't know what the fuck you want to do, but you have the right to fucking post it.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the deal. You have a right to be wrong. Okay,
yeah,
you can post like you can be full of shit. Like it's the thing that happens here. It's not the actual anti-vaxxing thing that they're doing here, right? With all of these, so they pick something that people agree on or don't agree on or whatever, and they'll silence that. And if you don't speak out about it, Alex Jones, right? You don't like what Alex Jones says, so you don't say anything about him being taken down, right? And then it sends precedence. And now they're taking down the people that you do like and you do listen to and the activists that you feel are telling the truth. And there's nothing you can do about it because you've already let them take down people. You know what I mean? It gets into that. First they come for, my neighbors, and next they'll come for me. If you don't say anything when they silence people, even if they're not saying things that you agree with.
Yeah,
I think the anti-vaccine movement does serve one very important role, and that is if you think about who actually makes these vaccines, like Monsanto being part of Bayer and stuff, and Bayer being behind making this kind of stuff. I think this anti-vaxxer movement, even if it's not true what they're saying sometimes, it does make sure that there are eyes on these big pharma always.
Well, I mean, we tend to ask the wrong questions, right? So, I mean, the big pharma thing is a real issue, and how they control our lives and our bodies and pretty much make us sick. The questions that they, the vaccine thing, is the government trying to poison you through vaccines? Fuck, man, I don't really know, right? But I will tell you, your government's definitely trying to poison you. Does it matter whether they're doing it through vaccines?
Well, yeah, they do it. On actually, I spotted on a lower level scale. And this is something that even people that I know, doctors in the medical community, didn't know until I brought it up, until I had a very obscure reaction. But most doctors and people are unaware that when you get a pill, right, a pill that's very big, and there's less than 1% of the medication is actually in there, and there's a whole bunch of fucking garbage in the fucking pill. to try. Then they say it's there to keep it so that it's stable or whatever or not. No, there's all sorts of fucking weird shit. Like they put magnesium stearate in there. There's no reason to be putting magnesium stearate in a fucking pill other than to help with digestion. But guess what? Your liver will will metabolize the chemical perfectly fine without these additives.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a problem a lot of times more with the who is doing it and knowing the kind of people they are than being able to point your finger at one specific incident. Do the vaccinations make you sick or cause autism? They may or may not. Will the people that are at the top of these companies, right, give a certain percentage of the population autism for profit? Yep. Right? Will they poison you for profit? Yeah, they do it constantly. Right? Shit, they've already came out 2 or 3 times now telling you that the water in Flint is safe to drink. They will poison you for profit, no doubt. But we'll get caught up in the semantics over the vaccination things, and what they end up doing is gaining the ability to silence people that speak out against the pharmaceutical industry, which is what they ultimately would like to do.
Oh, speaking of pharmaceutical companies, I do have an update about Martin Shkreli.
How's he enjoying prison?
Martin Shkreli, he was arrested. He got in trouble for a lot of shiesty shit in his endeavors about buying medications for rare diseases and jacking up the price. Well, it's well known that Martin Shkreli has a cell phone in his prison cell right as we're speaking, and is running his company from his prison cell, and has been on an ongoing campaign to acquire more drugs for rare diseases and the patents to jack up the fucking price from a prison cell. The exact same thing he was doing before.
Well, damn. On one hand, Martin Shkreli is a huge piece of shit. On the other hand, that's pretty fucking gangsta. Like,
yeah, he was on a cell phone, and he one of his corporate executives was on a safari trip in Africa and on vacation, and he fired him on his vacation.
Holy crap! You know how pissed off you got to be to butt smuggle a cell phone into prison to fire someone? Like, that is some serious dedication. Yeah, Martin Shkreli is a huge piece of shit. And I'd say, like most people that go into the prison, he's became a better criminal.
Yeah, and I was reading on the Wall Street Journal, his investors, one of them is a guy from Austria who has millions of dollars invested into his, I think it's called Torig or something. He's changed the name of the company several times because of all of his shit that he's done. So they don't want you to know it's the same fucking company. But his investors are planning on him because he owes so much money to the federal government. He owes a total of $7 million to the federal government. He only has in cash holdings, which I thought was almost hilarious, that the only assets that he has is worth $5 million altogether. Or not assets, the amount of cash he physically has, right? I don't think he has any property. I'm not sure at this point. But so what they're planning on him is that he has to sell his shares to the company so that they can, so that somebody else can get a majority of the company, so that they can fire him. Nobody in the company wants him there because they say he's irrational, he's fucking crazy, but they're planning on him not being able to pay back his what he owes the government. To sell some of his shares so they can fucking fire him. Like, so, he's like a little kid that you give a little power and he goes out to the deep end,
Well, yeah, $7 million. 7 million or 7 billion?
7 million.
Okay. Yeah. Um. Yeah, too much money. I don't know, man. Like, if he's only got, like, I don't know why you would loan him that much or how that works. It's just, I mean, have we ever actually been able? I know we'd reached out. Have we ever actually been able to get a hold of Scarelli?
You know what? We
I
probably
would.
could. We probably could do an interview and online. I mean, he had a fake Twitter account, but Jack banned the first, the real one, and Jack banned, or Twitter team banned the other one that he had made. I'm pretty sure he's on Twitter somewhere.
Yeah, I would love to interview that sack of shit.
Why did he buy exclusive rights to Wu-Tang Clan? Like, from Wu-Tang, then they can't even post their own song.
Did you not? Did you not? He is a sack of shit, but dude is gangster. Did you not? he will. He will jack up. He will get you fucking hooked to a medication that you need and jack up the price. That is standard drug dealing 101.
Well, and getting the copy, these bands and their copyrights. That's the other one. That's what all the big companies do. Create
Yeah,
that monopoly, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, the shit that he's doing, I'm sure there are plenty of people in prison that totally understand where he's coming from. But yeah, didn't Wu-Tang go and get back their their gold record or platinum record from his house?
I don't know. I mean, I don't understand people like this, but his mentality seems to be up in the top corporate, executives. Is that the customers are not, is not the base. Is There's not a relationship with the customer. There is a dominance over them, and that we dictate what they can and cannot have.
Well, I mean, you're dealing with a drug that's needed to save someone's life.
Yes.
So I mean, that already sets up a really bad dynamic.
His company isn't the only one that's been doing this. So I can name 50,
they all do it.
I can name
man.
50 off the top of my head that don't.
Novolog, right? So we're in the middle of a huge insulin shortage. Novolog, right? They bumped their price up to $300, then went to Congress and said, "Oh well, we brought it back down to certain people to $150 a treatment, a bottle for something that literally cost $4 to make."
Well, you can get Humalog, which is the pig
generic.
It comes from pigs. Literally for like what, $7 without a prescription.
Oh, yeah, it's so cheap. We've had insulin forever, right? I think 150 years, 160 years. It's a really long time. Insulin is an extremely old drug. We've been able to make it for a while.
Yep.
So to say that, well, all of a sudden it costs this huge amount of money to do it, it's just bogus. It's on purpose. And the deal is, if you don't need it to live, right? Aspirin isn't $1 million a bottle because you don't need it to live. If you needed it to live, it'd be $300 a pop.
Basically.
Yeah, if it's something like you're dying of cancer, if you really need it to live through the next week, those are the most expensive medicines, and always the most expensive medicine. There's never a time where you walk in and it's a disease that's going to kill you, and they're like, but. Fuck, man, lucky for you, the treatment for this is, just pennies on the dollar, right? Give me $5, we'll call it even, right? There's never a time. And you think of every other bit of production in our entire world has went down, right? Whether it's computers, cars, machinery, every single thing, farming, every single thing around you has went down in price, except for medication. Right, to buy a cell phone in 1980, right, you needed thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. To buy a cell phone now, you need $30. But insulin, right, cost you $60-$70 in the 80s, right? It will cost you $300 now.
Well, the same thing with Mylan. Mylan jacked up the price of an EpiPen, and EpiPen is a life-saving device. So if you don't have the EpiPen, you have anaphylactic shock, and you don't get the EpiPen, you're going to stop breathing. And
your throat swells shut.
They jacked the price up from, what was it, $90, because it's always going to be expensive because it has mechanical parts. They jacked it up to like 400. They jacked it up to like 400, but the real cost of the thing is less than $15.
Well, that's the deal. Like, they make it like, well, it's going to cost more because it has moving parts. Act like it's an iPhone. Right? So the next year, I can buy everything that I bought this year, right, cost less next year as far as manufacturing is concerned. Why isn't that EpiPen, right? How come there isn't a machine now that makes that, 3D prints that fucking spring inside of there? Mechanical parts are what are holding you back?
No, I mean, actually, epinephrine has been made almost. I think epinephrine's been around longer than meth.
Insulin.
No,
I mean, at
meth.
the end of the
so I'm thinking around the turn of the century. No, before that. So
Yeah,
epinephrine's probably been around since somewhere in the late 1800s.
Yeah, so I mean, in reality, these things should cost pennies, and they don't on purpose. It's got moving parts. What, a spring and a needle? Fuck, man. Epic. But my the parts of my car cost, cheaper every year.
Yeah.
TV every year. Every year I go out and get a 70-inch TV for less than I can get a treatment of insulin.
Well, it's interesting because electronics seems to be one of the few industries where you see things that actually kind of make sense. That lowering of cost as you pay things off, and as that line of whatever pays itself off, it gets cheaper. And yet cars, and in other industries, you don't see that. Cars, and damn well they're getting the butt cheap parts from Mexico and all the rest. How come cars aren't cheap? It's like almost, there's that other corporate philosophy, like, in the pricing of like what the market will bear and what you can get away with. Not really what it costs, but what you can get away with.
Well, and I think they find out that when it comes to like life-saving drugs, they can pretty much get it. You will pay anything to save your child's life. And if they can break it up that you need medication every month or every week or every other day, right, you will do anything to get those people. You'll sell your house, you'll sell your car, you'll sell everything that you have. You'll bring yourself to destitute to make sure that your kid lives another week. And they hold you, they got you by the, by the shirt and curlies. And they work it that way. Well, how much can we charge people for this medication? Well, everything. They will trade me absolutely positively everything they own to save their kid's life. And once they know that, that's the mentality that these people have.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean that's out there. So but it's like you were initially saying, like that electronics is one of the few things where you see that pattern hold that should hold with manufacturing.
Well, I mean, literally, some of these drugs are so easy to make. Like, I'm not saying, well, yeah, I do have quite a bit of extensive chemistry knowledge and medicals because that's a little pet peeve, but I do have some certificates in the field, and licenses. But especially like it was a form of pyridine. When pyridines are pretty easy to make because it's made from the oil of pepper, and it also helps if you I think it's called 3-DPH or DH, whatever it stands for, but it's a modified version of the pyridine oil, and it stops it stops an autoimmune response where the body's attacking itself and the victim becomes paralyzed, and all it does is it modifies a protein onto the cell, where to the point where it doesn't attack itself, and the person becomes not they're not paralyzed anymore. And the original price that the previous company was giving it out for was selling it for free because only 10,000 people suffer from this disease. And then another company bought the exclusive rights because they didn't patent it or something. Now it went to $30,000 a month.
Now, there was a drug bust in New York, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look up what it was, and they were like pretty much making this drug and selling it on the street. The Pepperdine you were talking about?
You can make a lot of stuff from Pepperdine's. It's anything from pharmaceuticals to straight up recreational drugs. So
Okay,
it has a
okay.
lot
Yeah, I
of it has
didn't.
a lot
A lot of
a
uses.
lot of usage, and usually they're not like the way you would want to make a medication. It's kind of like the garbage way of making something, but they do have purposes. You know.
Yeah, I mean it comes into to one of those, you have, I mean, that should be illegal, and the fact that it's not is a problem. But then when you have, our federal government, like, we went out and bought 1 billion rounds of 5.56 ammo, but didn't go out and buy, 100 million doses of insulin.
Hmm.
You hear what I'm saying? Like, okay, you'll give a pharmaceutical companies $1 billion, $2 billion a year, $3 billion a year. Why didn't you open up a company to just make insulin? Right? We have a problem. And there's no end to the list of medications that could fit into.
Well,
But
we could
instead we allow over and over. Like, you should never be able to, you shouldn't be able to do that. Look, if it costs, make the law, you can only make 100% of whatever it costs you to build whatever medication it is. 100%'s a lot. If it costs you $50 to make it, you know what I mean? 100%'s a lot. Look, you're not going to be a trillionaire off of it. The job of the pharmaceutical industry is to save people's lives. Am I wrong? You want to make money? Get into the banking industry. This is the pharmaceutical industry.
Well, that's where the companies bank on you, is that they know that you will pay an arm and a leg to stay alive.
Well, don't. Don't. Yeah, they're just. That's what bothers me, and those, it comes back to the people that have turned things into industries of death. Right, and the pharmaceutical industry, right, our healthcare industry has been turned into what used to be, you know what I mean, the saving people's lives and medications. If you go back to midwives and Wicca, and you know what I mean, medication used to be about helping people and saving people, and now it's became about how much will you pay to stay alive. Fuck, how can I get you sick, and then how much will you pay to stay alive?
Yeah, same thing goes with there's this thing that's been going around, that there's a cure for HIV through a bone marrow
Oh,
plate.
the bone, yeah.
In the medical industry, it's been known for a while that there's been a cure, but most people,
Well, because
most are not going to. Most healthy people with HIV are not going to go through
if I'm
active
not,
chemotherapy or bone transplants because they're risky. It almost outweighs the risk for getting treated with the pill, which is it's cheap to the point where we can get it to the point where it's almost undetectable. There's still a trace amount of the virus, and yes, you will still
pass it on.
pass it on, but you will not suffer from the effects as long as you take your medicine.
Well, and I know, there again, it's one of those long-term, never-ending, you'll need to take this medicine for the rest of your life thing. But, like, I know that there's now been a third person, same thing, bone marrow transplants. And, as soon as that news came out, the immediately the pharmaceutical, this isn't a miracle cure, you won't be whatever. But, once you know that, okay, these bone marrow transplants, right, work, whatever, government should be pouring money into that.
So
right?
We've also known that chemotherapy also kills out your immune system, but also kills out the virus. And there's been
kills everything.
That's been several instances where we know that chemotherapy will get rid of HIV inside of your body.
Well, these guys all had other diseases, so they had some really aggressive
leukemia and cancer.
Yeah. So that was why they needed the bone transplant. But this is one of those things saying, okay, we have the cure, but we're not going to look into it because we need to continue this, because we want to continue the money making scheme going on. Like, once gets the bone out, everybody can go out and get a bone transfer or anything that. But at that point, the science is there. Right, you just got to make it cheap and available. The whatever the function that causes that to happen, right, that causes it to fix to cure the disease, that's still there, right? That's not necessarily held in the bone transplant, right? But if you put any research money into it, you would find out those answers, but they don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like 10 countries, 20 countries, all 350 countries, 350 countries came together at that very moment and said, "Hey, everybody's putting in 100 million to $1 billion, and let's just cure HIV." Right? Figure this out. Boom, done. Let's do it. Right? Nobody. Just march along. They've got a good system now. We can sell you a very, very, very expensive regime of pills for the rest of your life. Quit bucking the system. Because there's been like a lot of research into like using your own body's immune system. That you get a shot when you're a kid of an immune booster, and you just don't get sick, right? And the pharmaceutical companies have fought tooth and nail against that. Why? Because then, you don't need them anymore.
Yeah, that's a fascist thinking. They create systems that maximize the corporate dollar, which has nothing to do with, what people want necessarily, or the greater good kind of thinking, doing it for the people, or just posterity or anything along those lines. That's where it all goes wrong. That's why you see what you see. It's just like everything costs. You need a permit for everything. Money. Revenue generating cops. It just never ends, man.
Yeah, it's the same cycle. It doesn't matter which business that they're in.
It infects everything. Yeah, politics.
Well, yeah, I don't like the fact that they make it seem like profit is somehow on par with other needs in life. And then if you don't subscribe to their, slave system in one way or another, that somehow the world is going to be a worse place. Well, if we don't have all of these sick people, then we won't have all of these extra jobs. No, those people will find other things to do. Right? If we don't have what about profit? If it doesn't cost $300, that's the profit margin. I don't care about the profit margin. Mappy, like you could have been rich at putting it up 5%. You could have been filthy rich at 10%. You know what I mean? But it's 600-700%. Taking something that was free and now it's $30,000 to get a treatment. Fuck, man, you could have taken 500 and called it even. The 500 was a dick move. That's some gutless, greedy shit when it was already free. Right? But then 30,000, it's never enough.
The same thing with proton treatment. When they give nuclear radiation to cancer patients, and they charge them about anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000 for what occurs naturally in nature. The gamma radiation will definitely. I mean, yes, they have a device that can pinpoint where where they want to aim it, but to charge a house for the treatment, that's ridiculous. And same thing with MRIs, charging $6,000 when these machines don't cost anything after the company pays the $250,000 to get the machine. It's fucking ridiculous. All they do is rape the patient.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to think about it. Now, when you think of the people that are having to sell their house and the hardships that they have to go in, imagine the CEO, like how he feels when he's on his yacht about those people. Like you don't know. He could be really tore up about it. He may not even be able to use his private helicopter here and there because he feels so bad.
I don't know about that, bro. I don't know about that.
How bad does Betsy DeVos feel on her yacht that you're not getting educated? Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Oh, no. But hey, you got to understand. I mean, people that are focused on money, when they lose money, it's a big deal. They are breaking glasses and hitting people around them and getting pissed off, because that's their life, man.
Yeah, you lose them enough money, they will have you killed. Like, seriously, this is fucking...
Come on.
Oh, here we go. Update from RT 7 minutes ago. 15 million users flee from Facebook, and they're on live. They are saying that farewell to Facebook in the title.
Wow.
Damn. That's heartbreaking, isn't it?
I love it.
Yeah. Poor guy. What's Zuckerberg going to do? Is it? Oh, I know he's gonna fake encrypt everything. I think is his next move.
Hopefully
Right?
he'll
Wasn't
jump
that his
out of a
plan?
window out of a tall New York building. Yeah, that'd be nice.
I'd have to nah. Somebody has to clean that up. Like a real person has to clean that mess up. That's unfortunate.
Well, that's true. He'd earn his pay that day, but
Yeah, I mean, like it. If he loses enough money, he'll off himself somewhere or fuck up. I don't know. I mean, the best thing to do would just for him to be fucking broke. Really, like we were just talking about, the worst punishment that you could possibly give somebody like that. You're not allowed to have any more money. The max you can make is 20,000 a year from here on in.
I don't feel sorry for him. The actual amount of users on his platform has plummeted a lot more than 15 million. I can tell you that because they're not losing. Yes, they have lost the adults. Yes, they have lost, but that's not their user base. Most of their user base is not older people. Most of their most user base at one point was young people, specifically preteens, late teens, and they're losing it. Facebook is losing that audience, and that is the next generation of people to support the platform. And unfortunately, they are not gravitating towards Facebook at all.
No, I would say, my kids are all big on Snapchat, not big on Facebook. Snapchat, I mean, they do, we all know that Instagram and Facebook are the same company, but they don't really, care. They just don't use the Facebook product all that much for some messaging here and there. But no, it's definitely going in the other direction with the younger generation.
It's going the way towards the dinosaur. I know they bought Instagram. But even that too will go the way of the dinosaur. I mean, I'd like what I've said. What the younger generation wants is one button, post, click, and do video. That's all they want. It sounds a little ridiculous to people like us that have been using social media since it's been around, and online forums and IRC chats. It seems like a little stupid, but that's what the younger generation wants. And I'm sorry, Mark. You just
I
tend to that product. You just don't have that product.
I tend to agree with that.
And the only reason Instagram is keeping afloat is because of the SoundCloud rappers and the bass that has going around. But
well, I mean, a lot of that has to do with
if those people move off the platform and there's not a base and there's no incentive to make money off of his platform, then the people will move somewhere else.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, it seems like people are moving to a lot of different places, and then there's overlap between the two. But yeah, I mean, in droves, people are leaving Facebook, or just they don't even really leave. They just, they're not using it that way anymore. They go in and see a couple of the people that they follow and what they posted, and then they go back to what they were doing. But it's, you can tell it's a dying network. I get the same feeling you kind of got towards the end of MySpace. I mean, you can still go to MySpace.
Yeah, I mean, I'm somewhere up there. I still have my MySpace and shit, but
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I still have mine. I'm pretty sure I still have mine somewhere. It's sad.
Well,
it's
of
one
course
it is
you did. Because it wasn't yours. It wasn't yours. It's his now.
It's his. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
but no, it definitely makes you feel like, and I mean, some of it is the way that technology moves too. So people move on to the next technology because it's technology. They're not in love with whatever web page it is. And we had a tendency, my generation specifically, you find something that you really dig and you're very loyal to that software, to that developer, to that console. And the younger generation doesn't seem to have that want or need. It's a lot of it has to do with there's a lot more variety in the name, in the names and brands of the technology as well. For us, there were 4 brands of computer. There were 2 different, gaming consoles. You'd be real loyal to one or the other because there was only 2. And now there's 100 different kinds of phones and 100 different kinds of, television and 100 different softwares and movie software or pictures people aren't like as loyal as they normally to that like kind of artwork. So if they do like graphic design or something, they're loyal to graphic design, but not necessarily a kind of software or a certain platform. At least that's what I've seen. Shit, I could be wrong. Shit. And Facebook's like a good example of that, where, they'll get on and use it, but they use 10 different, platforms depending on what they're going to do.
I just don't see where they do anything really special. I mean, somebody could make a Facebook clone without all the bullshit, and everybody would go there. Sooner or later it's going to happen. I mean, there's really nothing that I see on an HTML Facebook page that can't be done with another name on it or slightly different.
Yeah, I
what
agree.
is it that I need there?
In order to keep the people there, what you do need is, and I hate to say this is something that is grown up in the social media circle. You need what's known as content creators. 90% of people, well, that's not true. It's more like 70% of people are on there to see the content creators, and then we have a 30 or 40% user base that is only interested in what other people's businesses are up to. But a majority of people go on to these things for content creation. If there's no incentive for a person to be on there, they go on to something else.
Yeah, 100%.
Like YouTube wouldn't be YouTube if it didn't have the content creators. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, people are going, that's memes, that's videos, that's articles, that's the reason that people, like I said, people will go on Facebook now, and a lot of times that's not their main social media network. They do their messaging through Snapchat and other stuff, or on the games, but you get like memes from Facebook. You go to one of people you follow or something that you like, and you look at kind of their page over the last couple of hours, but people don't pay attention to fucking updates and any of that crap. Because they're not on there long enough for it.
I think what Cheryl Epps on Facebook says that virtual reality. It's funny you mentioned that because we do have somebody that does have a VR. It's kind of like a Second Life. Commander X has been running it. I think we posted a few links to that, but yeah, VR. I don't see. I mean, until it becomes a more popular thing, then we'll see more of a VR, VR social media. There are things I think on, God, I don't have a PS4, but I know there is the PlayStation VR chat. I know that's where a lot of trolling goes on, which some hilarious shit with like what is it, not Wakanda? It was the Knuckles shit was going on. That was hilarious watching the videos on that. Where Knuckles all of a sudden was riding a tank and then screaming in Russian for no fucking reason.
For no reason.
Yeah.
I know that, VR is one of those, because of the equipment and all of that you need, that's all getting smaller and smaller. It is part of the gaming community. There's a couple of horror games that are coming out that are super cool. But I think where the real future for any of that technology is in the like augmented reality, which you are seeing a lot of augmented reality stuff. It's not VR, but it is using a lot of the components of VR. And I think that's, we'll see way more of that. And you do see it. You walk around New York, there's 100 different augmented reality programs going on around you, whether you're playing the Pokemon game or whether you're doing like historical research. Like, you hold your phone up and there's, like I said, 100 different realities going on. And I do see that becoming more popular just because, we see it all around us. You'd be kind of surprised if you type in, augmented reality apps, like what's even available to you now.
You know what's scary is that Mark Zuckerberg's company owns the Oculus.
Yeah, they bought Oculus. It looks like they tried to kind of. Oculus is cool.
The creators left though because they had what had happened is the guy who designed the Oculus, I believe it was two guys, and they had a refined version of the Oculus they wanted to do, but Mark wanted a cheap version to come out more along the lines than a better, more refined version of the Oculus. And I guarantee he's gonna fuck this up just like every other product that he has out.
Hello?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Damn. Okay.
Oh shit.
Oculus. Wow. Well, any company that Facebook takes over, they seem to screw up. If it was doing good, they put their people on, and then it's within a year or two, it's messed up.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the investors into Facebook Inc. have been realizing that, it's only a matter of time. Like I've said, Mark's probably going to go down with SEC violations, and probably some criminal aspect that will keep him, out of the CEO chair or CFO.
Sorry, I got booted or kicked off or something. I'm not sure exactly. Disconnected.
Yeah, this platform.
Are we still talking about the guys from Oculus?
No, I was talking
Yep.
about the decline of Facebook. How it's probably going to play out, and it's probably going to end up with Mark getting fined by the SEC, and then criminal actions against his data privacy acts. He's probably gonna go down at some point, and most likely it will happen after the investors pull out, and he's only worth so many amount of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, as cold as it'll say, if his stock drops too much, that's when they'll get rid of him.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as he's making money, they'll pretty much let anything go down. If you start losing the people in charge money, that's where you.
But to see the thing
that's
is,
where you get yourself into trouble.
The thing is that Mark opening up this blog last week is not what people want to hear. They don't want to hear Mark Zuckerberg speak about Facebook. They don't.
That'd be pretty nauseating. I mean,
yeah, that'd be the worst.
Even some other guys who are major investors in Facebook say they don't want Mark Zuckerberg being the head CEO. They say he's running the company into the ground.
It's not you, it's us.
Even if Sheryl Sandberg
we can't work with you anymore.
Sheryl Sandberg, the other CEO, the number 2 in command was saying all of this shit. Maybe people won't listen to her. They don't want to hear her as well because there's so much negative attention, surrounding her.
Yeah, I mean, there's, if Facebook is going to make it, they're going to have to get rid of Zuckerberg. They're going to have to walk away from that whole part in their history. Whether they'll do it, I don't know how the board members and all of that stuff work with Facebook. So, I mean, you'd have to see how much their votes count and all of that crap, whether they could remove him or whether he's the biggest hog.
He has to give up majority share since they're publicly traded. That's the lay of the land. So So it has to be financially devastating for him to hold on to the stocks, for him to give up his share, which will happen. It's almost predictable.
Well, it depends if it's ran by him or if it's ran by the board. So, I mean, you look at what's going on with Elon Musk and Tesla, right? So, I mean, the board can actually do a lot if they want to and how it's written up. And I don't know how Facebook is organized like that. If he was smart, he put all of the power in his own, in his own hands. If he wasn't,
when you no longer have 51% of the shares, you're not in control.
I always pictured Mark Zuckerberg sitting at the Game of Thrones with the swords, and he sits at one of those at a office table, and he sits on it with a crown.
I wish it was old school like that, because between him and a Jeet Pie, I will challenge either one of them to a sword fight right now. I'm pretty sure they are Sith Lords. I'm not playing around, guys. I'm just saying I got a bad feeling.
When did duels finally, run their course here in the country? What was the last year of a duel? where it was still legal.
I think
now
1700s or something around
18.
there.
No, because it was later.
Yeah, we were able to duel for a while. I've always been under the thing. So I mean, the duel to the death, swords or guns, is illegal. But we can pick out any boxing ring that you want. Right, we can fence. We can. If you guys want to do some travel, we can go. I got a spot in Ireland that'll let us do bare knuckle boxing. Right, we can go nuts. We want to go to Thailand. We can really get down. So yeah, that's really. There's a couple of those guys where, man, any place, any time, but it's not like a threat of violence. This is just a duel between men. And the opportunity to put your money where your mouth is, right? Might is right.
Well, I'm shocked, Terrence.
Nobody has ever taken me up on it, and Steflo blocked me.
Did he really?
Yeah, he is a little bitch about it. But Jeff Olstein didn't, which is really weird because there's just more there for Jeff Olstein. It's not that Steflo isn't a complete douche, but he hasn't had the amount of time that Joel Osteen's had. Like, Joel Osteen's been in the game for a while. So there's just a lot more to pick apart there. And he hasn't blocked me. Even after I made all of these memes with him sitting on his plane and I replaced his wife with Satan, and it looks fucking awesome. You know, because it looks like he's over his shoulder, like they're going over their new prosperity Bible things. It's cool. It's cool. And now they're still up there. He asked us to not send him any more of the ones with him as the Joker, so we posted like 100 more of them.
Yeah, how about that big old jet that can solve all of the world's hunger that you have? I mean.
Well, I've been like trying to get, you know, the God's Twitter account. There's God and Jesus, and you know what I mean. There's a whole bunch of them. I keep on like messaging them, seeing if they will like give me the okay to auction off Jeff and Steflo's jets. Like, we need guys, like, they're holding on to all of your shit. You know what I mean? And Flint needs water, right? 135 million. That's 2 jets right there. So, yeah, we're always trying to get God to just, like, give us the okay. Like, yeah, I'm not using them. You can sell them off. Those are the mansions. JC hasn't answered either, and I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah, you know, those guys are suspicious because they demand things be given to them as a form of charity, and yet when you ask them for a little bit of charity, this doesn't seem to come.
Oh, no, did you see what happened during the hurricanes?
It doesn't come that way.
Jeff Olstein went out to the store, bought like chains and locks and shit to lock up the church just in case anybody tried to run there for shelter during the hurricanes.
Jesus.
It's a real. Yeah, what would Jesus do?
I don't know. I follow him. I guess maybe we'll ask him on Twitter.
Well, that's what I was like. That's what I've been doing is like going on Jesus' Twitter account because, like I said, there's a bunch.
He lost
of them.
his account. Yeah, he lost his account. Yeah.
Oh man,
that was funny.
That's
typical.
He had like 5 million followers, and he lost it because he was trolling.
I mean,
fucking typical. They asked him, "Are you really Jesus?" And he was all like, "I am who you say I am," and they fucking took his account.
Well, he's the head guy of Christianity, and we can't have that. I mean,
he's gonna start feeding the poor and preaching peace. Get rid of that motherfucker.
Even though it's anti-Semitic.
Yeah, is kicking Jesus off of Twitter anti-Semitic? I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, that's the only type of anti-Semitism that seems to be okay.
Yeah. As long as you're not posting about Jesus getting rid of the money changers, right?
Yeah.
That will get you kicked off so quick.
Well, bankers are thin-skinned. I mean, come on.
Well, that's one that's always gotten me. So, I mean, we know, if you guys, for our listeners that don't know, when people say that it's easier for a rich man to get in heaven than it is for a camel to get through the eye of a needle, what they're talking about there is Baghdad. And Baghdad used to was a walled city, and it had a big, it had 2 big gates on it. One of the names of those gates was the Eye of the Camel. right? And how that was is outside of the gates at night there were bandits and all of that, right? So you had to get in somewhere before, and they would like half close the gate, so your camels would have to lay down on their bellies to get under it, which was damn near impossible. So a rich man with your camels stacked full of stuff could not get underneath the eye of the camel, right? The eye of the needle, which is what that's called. Now today we think of it as like a rich man, getting through the eye of a needle. But I've always been under the impression, can we try? Like, if the deal is, do I get to try to see if we can get enough pressure behind one of the banking execs to fit him through the eye of a needle? Let's do it. I think it could be done. You could go get me at the Rothschild right now, and we'll see if we can force him through the eye of a camel. I think it can be, or the eye of a needle. I think it can be done.
Well, sure, it can be
done.
It's
2019, hydraulics, guys.
Well, no, we'll put him at the center of a fusion weapon, and then we'll compress him to damn near nothing. We'll get him
I was hoping to get some arc off of that. You know what I mean? I'd like it to be impressive. How far you think that would that would squirt with that much pressure back there?
Well, no, it'll go right through.
Straight up green blood coming out the other side. I imagine it's green blood.
Yeah, well, is it blue blood or green? No, it should be blue blood. They always talk about
they call themselves, yeah, they call themselves being blue bloods.
Yeah, what a bunch of nonsense, man. I mean, these people are whack, dude.
Well, I mean, don't be surprised that someone that claims that they have blue blood is against humanity. We all have red blood. That's part of being human. Well, no wonder you're all fucked up. You got blue blood. Someone should have that checked out ages ago.
Yeah, my bet is their blood's red and they're just full of shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's one of those. Are there intergalactic lizard people? Man, I don't know, but I bet you their heads come off just the same. Right?
Oh, speaking of intergalactic lizard people, guess what Kim's doing? Guess what Kim Jong-un's doing? Guess what he's doing?
Kim? Chairman Kim?
Yeah.
Is Chairman Kim? Is he restarting his nuclear program? Is that?
Oh,
yeah, it looks like it.
That's
he was
a good
moving
guess.
Stuff around?
Of course he is.
Well, I've always but then it's all like, in a recent find with our spy satellite, we found that you were making missiles. You probably would make less missiles if there wasn't a spy satellite over you. Am I right? That is a self-sustaining cycle. Like, posting everywhere that we were spying on you and found something is why I have the weapons.
To shoot you out of the sky.
To shoot your spy fucking satellite out of the sky. I mean, that's a natural reaction for anyone. I can imagine Chairman King freaking the fuck out.
Well, it's his response to the great Satan fascist Trump who didn't sign the agreement. See, that's,
okay, yeah, I mean, it's like, well, how many nuclear missiles do you have pointed at North Korea right now? What, 100, 200, 300, 1,000? Right? Like, 2,000? How many do you have pointed at them right now? And we're upset that their spy satellite caught them making little boom booms.
Well, I mean, is there really? I don't think there's that much there. I don't think it'd take more than like maybe 5 or 10. I mean, really, because there's nothing there.
And even then, like, what's the threat, right? Like, if North Korea makes any nuclear weapons, we'll kill ourselves, right? We'll destroy the whole world. That is a weird threat to make. Like, our thing isn't that somehow Kim Jong-il could destroy America, right? Conquer America, right? He is literally no threat to us under any circumstances. Even with conventional weapons, he's zero threat to us, right? But the fear is that he could get a nuclear weapon, launch it in somebody at someone else, and by response, we destroy the entire world. That's psychotic.
Oh, yeah, it is, yeah.
Like, that's the fear. It's not the fear isn't that North Korea is going to destroy the world. They don't have the firepower in any way, shape, or form. At most, they could hurt Anchorage.
You're a control freak psychopath, then you say stuff like that.
Yeah, like, I swear, if North Korea, is that, why waste the nuclear bomb, right? Just walk in the room, right? If North Korea locks us a nuclear bomb, we will all shoot ourselves in the head. That's the threat. Now, you're doing it through a fancy way, right? You're doing it through nuclear bombs, but that's the threat. If you launch a nuclear bomb, we'll kill everybody, and you're the psychopath.
And the deception is that we'll get a lot of other countries to go along with us because that's what good guys do.
Oh no, we launched them, so Russia launches them blind, so China launches them blind, so England launches them blind, so Pakistan nukes India, so India nukes Pakistan, so Israel nukes fucking everybody.
Didn't I see this on
like,
E-Bombs World in like 2005? Remember that? Remember that? The end of the world. The video?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. It goes into a thing where anybody that says they'll destroy the world because of nuclear bombs needs to have their nuclear bombs taken away.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's no reason to destroy the world with nuclear bombs ever. So the fact that you're trying to make weird excuses, well, North Korea, I don't give a fuck what North Korea does. That doesn't mean you get to kill everybody on the planet.
Well, and this comes from the country that has dropped the only bombs used, who now is the arbiter and the great justice of what's moral in nuclear weapons and all the rest. It's more nonsense.
Yeah. The only country to nuke two civilian populations, right? 2 civilian cities. Not a single military fucking base was hit in our nuclear bombs. Number 1 was because we were really hoping to drop a third one, right? We were hoping with those 2 they wouldn't surrender. We left their military infrastructure open, right? They could continue the fight on, and we would get to build new nuclear bombs. Right? Win-win. And that didn't happen that way. They saw the 2 and were all like, okay, you guys are fucking lost it.
Yeah, Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I think it was tens of thousands of people died.
Yeah, I mean, numbers that we can't calculate, you know what I mean? Because this was a time where those populations really weren't counted in the way that we would have liked. And the sad part is we specifically targeted civilian populations. As heavily as we could find without taking out their means of means of production. Because in the back of our minds, right, we needed a puppet in Asia. And Japan was our puppet in Asia, right? Extremely capitalism. They'd make capitalists. Their only job in the world is to make our shit. Right? That's how we want Asia to be. Baseball playing, right? TV making, Asia. That's the Asia we're comfortable with. Right? And we specifically made sure not to hit their big production areas because that was the plan. And if we could get capitalism to take off in Japan, right, we would be able to spread it all over the region. And we've continued with that. We've kept Japan as our little Asian pet in the area.
Yeah, Chinese still been like, oh, fuck you.
But you know what? To be honest, in like on a lot of levels, they're really like, as long as we get to fuck with the Chinese and North Koreans, we're cool.
I don't know. The Chinese are pretty capitalist.
Well, capitalism and communism aren't opposites. One of them is an economic system, and one of them is a political system.
Yeah, they're really more fascist, honestly. I mean, they have a stronger
communist or whatever.
They have
fascism problems.
They have that stratified system just like we do. There's the slaves doing all the work. I mean, they really get treated like shit. But there's that upper crust that's very fascist, elitist, almost monarchical, in their beliefs and all. They can do whatever they want. They're above the law. So it's got all the same things like we see here. Fascist, oligarchy,
it's getting
whatever.
crazy over there with their social credit system. Like, people are now being denied movement and movement by transportation, loans, money, because of their social credit score, and that's becoming literally Orwellian over in China.
Now I gotta ask, like, what is so outrageous about the social credit score compared to the normal credit score?
Okay, social credit score, you start off with 1,000 points, right? And they have what's known as an investigator who is like the town spy. They actually have thousands of these people. They go around and they see your good deeds. If they catch you doing something bad, they deduct you. Let's say you go to 950. At 950, you are not allowed to get first-class plane tickets, and you cannot get on the train until you boost your credit score. So what you would do is you either do a good deed and show it in front of the investigator, or you pay the government money to raise it 50 points so you can buy train tickets.
There we go. Yeah, it's a payoff.
Yep.
Pay the commie party, and you can play. It's a pay-to-play scheme.
Okay. Yeah. So in
I've seen a few.
this is and
I've
this
seen a
is
few science fiction, science fiction movies that are like this. And
oh that Justin Timberlake movie, that what Out of Time, is it? Was it something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
If I mean, and I'm not like I'm not really, it's a good movie. Like the concept is super cool. It's like something that is very they show it to you in a way that makes it seem science fiction, but so close to the world we live in. Debtor's prison is real. If you don't have money, they put you in jail, right? So I mean, that part's real. The fact that you can't live a normal life unless you pay off, credit score, whether it's social or banking, right? That fucks up your entire life because somebody else wants to fuck with you. And I mean, that goes into redlining and all sorts of other stuff. You go into a bank, you can't get a loan because you're black. That's real. Right? Like, I mean, all of those things are happen in our world. What was that movie that came out a little bit ago where you have like one day a year where you fucking go nuts and murder everybody?
Oh, The Purge.
The Purge. Right? So the Purge premise is that one day a year everybody murders each other for the benefit of the elite, right? Right, but I mean, but the only difference is that they only pick one day, where in real life that's every day, right? We all murder each other for the benefit of the elite every single day, every single day.
That's just the lead-in. See, it's like, oh, it's just one day, when it's actually, like you said, it's every day.
Yeah, every single. It would be a fucking miracle if for one day a year, right, we didn't murder anybody. That would be a fantastical fucking premise. You know what I mean? Enough that you could never even sell it as a movie. But the whole like concept that you would murder people at only one day a year, right? That the idea that there was peace 364 days a year isn't horror, right? It's fantasy.
Yeah.
Watch, it'll happen.
Like that's what we're working on. But at the end of the day, they make it seem like it's a horror movie that you would kill for profit for the elite one day a year, and not that that's going on every second of the day. Right now, there is a drone in the air that will kill a child right now, today, right now, in this next hour. Right? What 10 will die in the next hour? 150 in just the time that we've talked in just the time that we've talked today. It's crazy to think about. So yeah, the out of time or whatever, where you are, you get a certain amount of time and your life is dictated always at the bottom. You know what I mean? It's never at the top, right? Is dictated by how much of that number you have. And it's like something that I always, struggle with. And that anytime you reduce people to numbers, right, it causes these problems. Anytime you reduce people to numbers, what you are is a number, it starts causing these same problems. Because then people start treating you like that number. And if 1,000 is as good as you can get, if you're 1, then you are shit, regardless of what anything else is going on in your life. Anytime you assign a number system to people, that's how it works. Well, no, I'm a good person. Yeah, but you're a 1, man.
Or you don't see, if you don't play the game there by buying your score back, well, you just, I think it just drives that criminal nature. There's going to be X number of people who just say, oh, fuck this. And they're just going to be criminals, and you're going to have that whole black market that they can't track anyway. This is where it always goes.
Oh yeah, and you get into the thing like, think people are tracked. Look at all the people that lost out during the housing bubble, right? Because you're the number, you're that credit score. Now you can't buy a house. You can't go to you can't live in certain neighborhoods, right? There's all sorts of things that you are now barred from, right? You can't even go to that golf country club anymore, right? Your score dropped, man. I'm sorry, but your number is too low.
Yeah, it kind of happens naturally in that case. I mean, that's the number that's a indicator of your ability to handle money. Apart from everything else, male, female, whatever race you are, that number is just a score of your ability to handle money. However, they twist it into this other.
Yeah, and see, that would be the deal, because on the outside,
yeah.
then you'd think, okay, well, then that would almost be like an acceptable premise. But then it's always weighted against you. It's not like you're by that number in a fair system. That's why I brought up the housing bubble, where they deliberately fucked people over, right? Across the board, they really didn't give a shit whether you were black or white. They really cared that you were poor because you couldn't afford it, and they needed to get you in a house that you couldn't afford, hands down, right? And now your credit score is jacked because of your low income. There's nothing you can do, right? You'll never get that number up because you can never get ahead.
Yeah, I will say that. I mean, if you look at the loans of people with low score, it's surprising how many. I mean, you could go from the one side and say, hey, 30% of them of those loans fail. But what I find odd is that 70% of them actually work. I mean, these people, even with low scores, they got that loan somehow and they made it work. That's actually, fairly good. Now the fact that 30% of them are cratering on you, yeah, that's going to be a big problem. You're going to go bust doing that. But, hey, it still surprises me that 70% of people, actually make that work.
Oh yeah, like people that's the thing. Like people will absolutely be pay, and then by the time for the people that don't work, because of what it is and how you're set up, they won't walk away. Right? So I mean by the time they by the time they leave a house or get evicted, they have sank everything into it. You're down to your boxers by the time you finally, because they don't want to lose that loan, even though if they know,
Yeah.
I could afford it for the first 5 years, but then, the balloon payments and this and all of that, they were set up to be exactly like they are. But I mean, the credit system specifically, if it was set up a just system, then, you could look at someone and be like, look, man, you made all of the wrong choices, right? There was no way they should have given you money. Right? But, that's not, we don't live in a fair system. So it's like,
Hello?
I think we lost a couple of people here. Hold on. Mine went weird. Hello?
Hello? Did we lose Preston?
Yeah, I think so.
Hold on. That was weird.
We've hit a lot of points today.
Maybe he can hear us, but we can't hear him.
Yeah, because he's in the room. You had to go to the bathroom. 4-hour show. So what else did we have? What else did we have on the list here?
Chelsea Manning's in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they were interrogating her, with her involvement with WikiLeaks and all of the data that she had dumped. And that they're basically trying to interrogate her with her relationship with WikiLeaks, which she says she's pleading the 4th, 5th, and 6th on this, and she's also saying that she's already in contempt of court because she won't speak about it because she's saying she's supporting activism and she has the right to not speak to him, and that the legal problem with this is that she's already been tried in a military court for these crimes, and it doesn't apply to a civilian court. So she and her lawyers are saying the exact same thing, and I kind of get where she's coming at, is that this is as far as everything that was discussed in the trial in 2013 doesn't apply, and why should she have to be reinterrogated on this when she didn't do this on behalf of WikiLeaks? It was very cut and dry, is that she reached out to WikiLeaks after the crime had been committed.
Yeah, I mean, at the bottom line is a military tribunal is not a civilian court, so the double jeopardy thing doesn't particularly apply in that case.
Yeah, and the judge is holding her in contempt of court because she doesn't want to speak about it, and I get it. She doesn't want to get into trouble with anybody,
Yeah, and it's over and done with, really.
Well, she was also granted clemency from Obama.
Yeah, which I feel is right. We were talking about whistleblowers earlier. What she did was completely correct, was completely honorable. You know what I mean? It's messed up. You should have the ability to speak out when you see that kind of corruption.
Yeah,
But weird. Can we not hear Preston?
I can hear him. I can hear him coughing.
No, it's not me.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting some feedback, but I don't think you guys are hearing it.
No,
Weird.
I don't hear it. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of glitchiness here and there. What else do I got?
Yeah, we had quite a few things.
Oh, there's a developer on Steam.
Oh Lord,
yes,
the rape.
Fuck. Yeah, there's a game in development on the Steam that's called the Rape Game, and supposedly this is like a game that is targeted towards sociopaths or people with social what is it? Weirdos,
rapists and fucking murderers, man.
Yeah.
Like, no, they can make a fucking thing about it, but this is really, you could say there's been some games that have been made before about serial killers, right? Where you were an escaped convict, you murdered fucking, what was that game called? It got a lot of press at the time. Wow, what was that called? It was another murder game, but it was nowhere like this. And I read the guy's like interview and the fucking Steam stuff that was and this guy is a fucking psychopath.
It kind of made me think that this is what the developer wanted. This is like his mind. And
yeah,
I'm
if
like,
it's some sort of
bizarre.
Yeah, this seems like some sort of rape fantasy that instead of like writing it down, he turned it into a game.
Yes,
and then the whole thing with the baby thing was really weird.
It was also weird is that he wants this to happen in a post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypse. And
it's a zombie apocalypse.
And you're the last one. You're the last one's alive, and the only thing you're gonna do is these bad things. And I'm like,
yeah, it is weird. And then he goes on in the interview, he goes on for a disturbing amount of time about, that he took out the baby murder scene to appease Steam or something like that. But I mean, really, what he replaces it with, like reading what it was just like, wow.
Well, Steam said that they placed the game on review, maybe permanently.
Well, no, it's they because they said that they denied it, and then they their denial wasn't real sensical in the article that I read, but I also don't think it particularly has to be. Like when they were all, at a certain point, I'm not going to post your rape game. Okay, I'm not going to do it. So when they send them a letter and they're like, well, what was your reason? I don't like it.
Well, I was thinking, what developer in their right mind thought that there would be an audience on a public platform like Steam? I was like,
this guy.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, if you like a game like Grand Theft Auto or something, I mean, to me, this is kind of a natural next criminal step. I mean, if you can go for that game and the way it teaches you to be a thug, then what's so wrong with this? I mean, it is weird. Don't get me wrong. It's not my thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there comes a point where this is just simulated rape. Right, and that's probably where I gotta.
That doesn't even sound right coming out.
Yeah, so that's where I gotta draw the line.
Well,
so,
isn't simulated rape better than actual rape? I mean, if this guy will sit there at a keyboard doing it,
I have a sneaking suspicion that the people that are lined up outside to buy your simulated rape game, they're really good chance there's more than simulation going on. It's just not. Yeah, I mean, there's there's the same people that say the same thing about the little the child rape dolls, right?
What?
Like they're like dolls that are anatomically correct that are little kids that predators buy to have sex with, right? So they buy these little children dolls and have sex with them. And the thing is, they're buying the children dolls and having sex with them and not real children. But I think in the end of the day, you're just having sex with the children doll is kind of like masturbating, and you're really going to go out and do the same thing or haven't already. Like there's some other issues going on there. Right? And how to deal with that? Fuck, man, I don't know. I'm not a goddamn psychologist. How the fuck am I going to, How am I supposed to deal with that?
There ain't no fixing that. Some things there just ain't no fixing. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the
man.
truth.
Like, I don't know how to tell you to deal with that. There's definitely some serious mental issues going on. I advise you to get some help. Probably talk to somebody. But do I think it's a good idea to sell kid rape dolls? Nah, that's probably not the best way to handle that. And I think this game kind of goes into that. Yeah, I guess it would be an outlet for people that were planning on murdering and raping someone, but I don't think that it's going to stop you from murdering and raping people. You know, in fact, I think it may kind of entice some of those, you know, those, if you were already on that train, you know what I mean? That's not going to be enough. I don't know. It wouldn't be on my network, and I mean, you can put it somewhere else, I guess. You know, I can give you like for the developers thing. Like, I'd be honest with them. I'd be like, look, homie, I can give you I can go to my lawyers. I can have them give me out some stupid ass reasons that, you know, I don't like the size of the T's in there. The font isn't right. The blood's the wrong color or fucking shininess. Man, I can give you an unlimited fucking reasons why it ain't going up. But at the end of the day, I ain't putting it up. Right? So, I mean, that's really their decision to make.
You're gonna love this. Never mind.
Uh-oh.
It's off the wall.
Nah.
It's
Put it in there.
Malware.
Let's see it.
Because we're talking about malware tech. So he says you got to appreciate the irony of people wanting the source code of a reverse engineered tool in order to verify it's not malicious.
So what? So I don't understand. So you're saying they shouldn't be able to ask for the code to look at it?
Yeah, I guess. I think it's kind of funny. I got it when he said it.
Well, reverse engineering something isn't necessarily nefarious, but
yeah,
it usually is.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the government doing it?
No. This is malware tech. He's on trial for the Kronos virus.
Oh, and they want the code for the virus so they can see if it was him. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. But
well, isn't that's incriminating? You can't. That's a Fifth Amendment, if I remember right. You can't.
Well, he's a UK citizen on trial for the Kronos viruses because he stopped the spread the infection of the WannaCry virus by. I guess it had a bottleneck or a focal point where it was using as a hub, and he had stopped it, but basically it was mostly was just attacking Windows XP machines and a lot of the NIH in UK a lot of devices were affected.
Well, I mean, there's still an insane amount of XP machines out there.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Well, I mean, I think to a certain point, a lot of people they don't care.
Well, Microsoft knew about this flaw a long time ago. It was just a matter of time before somebody developed ransomware for it.
Microsoft has never developed an OS that didn't have huge flaws in it. I mean, that's why what Windows are we up to now?
The 10.
Are we? Is it 10X or?
Well, they're gonna have Windows. They're having another version in 2020. And they're also going to be breaking out a Microsoft Linux soon to the Azure. It might be called Azure. I don't think it's going to have Microsoft the logo. But
isn't there already a company named that Azure or software
that makes
package?
Yeah? I know there's one that
cloud
makes
computing.
Laptops.
No, Azure is a Microsoft product.
Yeah, so I mean, so for everybody that uses Linux, the things that you really loved about those, Microsoft is going to go in and take all of those out. That's it. That was all I had. Everything enjoyable that you had for Linux will no longer be enjoyable.
That's not good. Well, they got into GitHub. They're going to fuck it up.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different platforms that I mean, pretty much anything they'd like to control the cloud altogether.
Microsoft has a history of building shitty products, that break. The next evolution of them jumping onto Linux, where the Linux kernel, uh, you know, as it is, most versions of Linux will run on 256 megabytes of RAM. It doesn't have any hidden. It doesn't. It's not a resource hog. It boots up in less than a couple of minutes. Where you boot up a Windows machine and it takes upwards of 10. I'm not gonna lie, 10 minutes sometimes.
Oh, I mean, expect those same things with your new Microsoft Linux machine.
Yeah.
So, like the first time at the store, it'll boot up pretty quick, and then once you get it home and you get that first update in there, that'll be the last time that'll happen. And then it'll never
Man.
actually update. So it'll just like every couple of days, it'll ask you to do the same update that it's asked you for a million times before. Take about 45 minutes to update, and then have you exactly where you started.
Well, I've been playing around with something that's been kind of implemented in the last year, where you have a Linux terminal built into your Windows device, and you can allow this by doing some commands on the PowerShell, and then going back to the Microsoft Store and installing the Linux terminal of your choice. And I gotta admit, it have some limitations, but I've always suspected that this hidden feature has been for research and development. Something they've been working on in the background.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure a lot of their programmers use, Linux machines. I doubt that any of the people that do the work at Microsoft use Microsoft machines.
Well, it's not that. It's just like when you're building stuff. Typically you want to stay away. At least me, I stay away from Windows products on anything, because they're bound to fail.
Well, what is it about Microsoft? Think about it. I mean, how long this guy's been in business, and he has this style of doing things. I mean, every corporate culture has this. It's like, but you'd think by now they'd have their shit together on how to put out something, hardware and software that works. And it's just always something weird with Windows and Microsoft products.
Well,
I don't know what it is. It's just the way they are, man.
I believe that what they should have just left Windows 7 as it was. Windows 8 was a flop because they got rid of the start button. Windows 8.1, they brought it back, but then they got rid of all of the integration into the Windows button, which was now a central hub. And depending on what version of Windows 10 you have, you're having trouble navigating around, and now they have these gadgets, or I call them widgets, but they're like these little sidebars that aren't obvious until you move your mouse in a weird spot. I know they've been doing that in Linux. They call it the Unity desktop. That's something that was introduced by Ubuntu. But honestly, I'm not a big fan of being on an operating system where I have to. I mean, if I have to get into the terminal, yes, I can understand that. But if I want to do basic modding of settings, why should I have to dig through a bunch of shit to find what I need to find? I'm just saying, it's not easier. They're trying to dumb it down for people who don't understand how computers works, and I get that. That's something that Microsoft has been dealing with for a long time. But then again, their audience. I can't speak for everybody, but a lot. There are a lot of technical. There's a lot of companies that need the technical aspect of it, but you shouldn't have to. Ask a person to go through 15 different steps just to adjust something.
Yeah, I mean, you got to run that kind of balance between, users' ease and being able to get a hold of tools and change things around. And I think that's what's important to realize.
Well, here it is. Like, if you had a version of Windows, let me say you were using Windows 7, right? And then I got you on a Windows 8 machine, 8.1, right? And I tell you that there are two different desktops, all right? One is called the Metro desktop, and one is the old desktop. And it confuses a new user who's used to using the old operating system, because it's not like the other one. Why do I have two different modes, and why should I? It doesn't make any sense to the end user.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, I
just
mean, I
have a
think
history of
there's.
bad decisions.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, from the top down, really. um, yeah, I mean, just being able to have access to them. I mean, that's the things um, that made like Windows so frustrating is that it wasn't that look on the outside you could be super, easy to use and user friendly. I dig that, but then you had no ability to get into the rest of the system. I mean, you did, but it was always it could be a huge headache, and you had to go through all sorts of, what I mean, all sorts of hacks, and yeah, just a headache. And you didn't have that with other operating systems.
And you mean Windows XP was pretty damn simple, and I understand that there were a lot of flaws. And they should have just stopped at Windows 7. They really should have, as far as the look and the design and everything, because it was well balanced and it wasn't a hard load on anything. And they completely redesigned the back end, and then they just fucked it up from there on.
I just can't believe a company of that size and the capabilities they have. It's just everything they do seems to be such bloated code. They never minimize anything.
Nope.
To run quick. And I can't believe it with the
We'll see with
kind
Apple
of
now.
firepower.
Apple's getting that way too.
Oh, I mean, some of it's just that the device, the storage has gotten so big, you get a lot of lazy programming. It's like, fuck, you don't even use,
Yeah.
it's just tons of unused lines. And I mean, that's where you get, and it's like, to be honest, right? The reason that you get these security flaws is because of that lazy programming.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the same problems that I had. That's why I'm mostly, I mainly use, Linux, is because I don't have to deal with these problems, But if I have to use Windows, I have to. But that's not by choice. It's something that I can only do on this platform. But if I had my own way, I'd be running everything, open source on Linux. But the Linux really has become more popular in the last 2 years. Not in the sense that it hasn't been popular already. With the back end, or developers or anything like that. But mostly because of Linux has integrated itself into the gaming community, which doesn't surprise me. You bring a consumer there, and a consumer base would move on to a platform that's not a resource hog, and you can have more resources available to you because your operating system isn't using as much of the resources, and you can apply more of that towards the game that you're using.
Yeah, and I mean, it can really, especially if you're in real graphics intensive games, I mean, it can mean a lot.
Yeah, and more and more we'll see Linux gaming, and Steam has to be one of the major proponents for that, and I won't, I'd love to see Linux more into like not the other operating system, as something that you use, in lieu of being an Apple person or Microsoft person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, whatever happened to the Steam machine? Is that still going?
Steam? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, the Steam machine. So the gaming console that Steam was coming out with.
I'm not much of a gamer.
Do you guys
so
remember that?
I thought that Steam was just the platform, like the software platform you plugged into for all the gaming and everything.
Yeah, it was, but then it was in the Steam machine was in conduction was with Alienware.
It wouldn't surprise me because Alienware is owned by Dell.
Yeah, so they it just I guess it never happened. I'm still looking at them, but yeah, I guess
Steam console.
It was called if I remember correct, it was called the Steam machine.
Oh, it's called is this the Nvidia Shield?
Nah.
No.
Maybe unless they changed it to something.
Oh wait, you're right. There is a Steam machine. Okay, hold on. It was on Tech Radar.
I'm not lying to you.
No, I believe you. I just didn't know what I want to see what it looks like. I guess
It looked pretty cool. I thought like I don't know if even the ones that I saw were like the actual versions or like the just the prototypes. Little cool blue light in the front and like kind of angular designed.
Yeah, I see that. I guess it never got off the floor, I guess.
Bum bum bum.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
I thought that would have been.
Here we go. Alienware Steam Machine. Here we go. Okay. It's got it's got a Intel Core i7, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 2.2 gigahertz processor, DDR3. It's could do a little better. Because we're up to DDR5. Terabyte of HDD. They should have gone with an SD.
But I don't know how much because it's a little bit. How old is it now?
It's almost $600.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think they made them for very long.
Yeah, this is on a site. I have never been on this site. It's called Shop. Best reviews. It says view deal. I don't know where you'd actually buy it. Oh shit, Amazon. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but that was. I mean, I thought that was also open source OS.
I don't know what. Let me see what operating system it says. Let me look at the specs.
That's how I got onto this this thing. Was I thought that that's how what sparked this was the OS on it.
Yep, it has the Steam OS. That's it. Yeah, Steam operating system.
Yep. Yeah, so I didn't actually get to use it, but I wanted, I'd like to. That one was designed specifically for gaming.
Or something homebrewed.
Well, I know you could put, whatever you wanted on there. So it was the PlayStation 3s. You could do that too. I don't think you can anymore. You could install Yellow Dog on there. And then
what is that?
What is
pretty
it?
Yellow Dog?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a Linux OS.
Oh
wow.
I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah.
I think it was. Yeah, I mean it was a round of water. Linux free open source OS. So I mean it was that. I don't know. It was the only thing that you could. It was the only one that you could use when kind of Ubuntu first came out. Yellow Dog was right, but was right there. Maybe called it Did you call it YDL? Maybe.
Oh, I see it. Okay, this is around 2012.
Yeah. So what you would do was you would install Yellow Dog on your PlayStation 3, and then in the beginning you had full access to all of the cell processors, which was awesome. And then as time went on, they restricted some of the use. It's the full use of the. I think you could use 3 out of 5, something like that. But it was really cool. You could four PlayStations, and you had yourself a supercomputer.
At the time.
Yeah, I mean now now it's not quite as much.
I know.
Yeah,
Lately what I've been seeing in game consoles, when I look at the specs, they're always kind of like downgraded from what you can build yourself on a tower.
Oh yeah, compared to the PC, but I mean also way cheaper, and you can actually you can travel with them. There's all sorts of different PC Master Race as a whole. They're playing games that are more than realistic, right? In resolutions that real life isn't in. So.
Oh yeah, with the 8K graphics going around. Yeah, that's insane. It's like anything after like 4K. It's like, can the eye even see that well?
It can't. It's in better resolution than you can make out. More colors than the human eye can pick up. It's like over the top. But yeah, the PlayStation used to be really used to let you have a lot more access, and that wasn't the first PlayStation that you could use install Linux on. But yeah, I had it's just the cell processor. It could have done so much. Floating point was you just couldn't. By the time you could get a hold of enough of them for cheap enough, it didn't matter anymore. But yeah, we had plans of building like 4 or 5 of these supercomputers and working on cancer cures. That'll piss off the man.
Or just use it for this graphics chip and mine fucking cryptocurrency.
Well, I mean, ours was doing things like protein folding. So I mean, you can get the code, the files for the protein folding, and the faster that you can process them, the closer the world is to cures for these diseases. So our plan was to get out, a couple of these teraflop systems and have them do nothing but focus on things like protein folding. That's kind of evolved into On3, because it just turned out to be too expensive to try to build the actual supercomputer. It's better to break it up into, like huge amounts of smaller bits of math than it is to try to crunch these giant number chains.
Gotcha.
All right, what do we got? What do we got on the list?
Israel landed on the moon.
Oh yeah, cool. Good on him. Good on him.
Yeah.
And what was Japan shot that asteroid?
Yeah.
Which that'll show them.
We also
consider the what is it? Consider the dinosaurs avenged. It's a good, I can only imagine what the aliens watching that thought. They're landing a probe. What are they doing it? Dude, I shit you not. They got out, shot it, and got back in and left. Was fucked up.
We also had Huawei is suing the United States government for banning employees using their equipment.
And we what did somebody posted the was it one of the Huawei guys that posted bail as well?
Who?
Well, there's been what the CEO that was arrested in Canada.
Yeah, the CFO. Yeah.
Right, and then there was another case that was going on as well, and I don't know all I don't remember whether it was Huawei or not, but they paid Chinese billionaire paid something like $9 million for bail.
Yeah, that's how much she was. She's the daughter of the owner of the company.
Yeah.
And her dad is part of the Communist Party and is a major player. So they literally arrested the wrong fucking person. This is not a person you wanted to have in jail, especially when you're trying to fix trade relations with China.
Yeah. So I mean, what is she actually going to be prosecuted, or was it just trying to
I don't know.
put pressure on him?
It's really died out of there. And the last I heard is that China was arresting. Arbitrarily was arresting people in politics that were from Canada, for no fucking reason. And
and I know that all of this is kind of put because they've got, they make those slices or whatever, the servers and everything. They've been being cut off by what? Australia and a couple other countries for the Europe and a couple of countries in Europe as well. For the same corruption scandals.
I'm not sure.
Okay, sorry. It's hard to it's one non-stop corruption story, so it's hard to.
Well, I mean, what they're saying is that with the Huawei case, all I know is that they are saying that she broke a deal and had opened up a pseudo company that was breaking the international trade relations with Iran. Which is hearsay, but they say that wasn't them. I don't really know. It really doesn't even matter. The only thing they were doing is selling fucking cell phones. I don't get it.
So what are sanctions keep people from selling Iran cell phones? Is that the
basically? Okay,
doesn't seem like that's my problem, really.
Yeah.
Did you know the Iranians have cell phones? Good, I guess. What? It has to make it easier for you to spy on them, doesn't it? Are you thinking this through?
Yeah, it doesn't. It
Well,
doesn't make.
it's almost unheard of though to, as a core for a country to go in there like that and arrest a corporate figure of that stature is almost unheard of.
Well, yeah, they're going to get in trouble,
I
and
mean,
then
it's
she's going to get a slap on the wrist, and you know what? This is going to create. What has been? It's been creating a lot more tension, politically than there has to be.
Well, I mean that on top of the trade deals, and I mean the current trade, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I mean, I don't think it's an actual trade war because it's really, both countries just want to make money. There's no real winners like that.
Yeah. Shit, I ran out of topics.
Wow, we have plenty.
Man.
Yeah, but we normally don't run out of them like that. I mean, I would have liked to talk about the Zionist influence on our government, more, but yeah, I don't think we have time to go into it as much as we would like to. It really bothers me, that even for speaking out a little bit about genocide, you get thrown to the wolves like that. It's messed up.
Well, if they can convince you through their tactics to shut up and not say anything, I mean, they win. I mean, it's just they're training you constantly to do this.
Yeah,
that's what's amazing about it. It's just like, really, I mean, we can't discuss Israeli policy or what they're doing. I mean, we can't bring that up now, or it's anti-Semitic. I mean, it's like, come on, man, get serious.
Yeah, I just look, calling out the Iraq War, right, is not anti-American. It's the most pro-American thing you can do. Like calling out corruption and the wars for profit, the attack of innocent people, the stealing of lands. I mean, all of this is really, is important stuff. Like you no matter how much they try to stop you, you have to speak out about it. And on top of it, you have to make sure that there's a clear line between this and having anything to do with anti-Semitism.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching somebody, talk trash. They don't. A lot of people don't understand the difference between what the anti-Zionism and what is anti-Semitic. I saw these Zionists, these anti-Zionist movement, saying today that it was Women's Day in Israel, and they behead women in Israel, and I'm just like, now you're just racist.
Nah, yeah, like it's, you know what I mean, like, and you do get into that as soon as you start having a conversation, and then you'll hear somebody say something, you're like, what the fuck? This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand. I mean, unless you're familiar with the culture, the people, what's going on there, which I am. Then you understand what's going on there. But if you look at it through a lens and you don't really know what's going on there, then you sound like a fucking idiot,
Yeah, but I mean, I think so many people have spoke out and against about the difference between Zionists and the Jewish people, between Zionists and Israel. Right? Like, both of our countries are into some really evil shit. There is no reason you shouldn't be able to call out any of it.
That's true. We have a constitutional First Amendment,
Well, and no allegiance to any other country. Then, look, if you are in Israel and you speak out against the Israeli, government, and that, they've got whatever rules they have to have, you may or may not be treasonous against Israel. But right away, they come out and act like if you're speaking out against Israel and you're an American, you're treasonous. And that doesn't make any sense. The only person that you hold any allegiance to is America.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the fact that that's like House Bill 1 is the first. It's the first order of business.
Right.
Well,
Congress.
I'm pretty sure it'll be challenged in court, and it'll probably fail. I'm almost positive.
Well, I mean, some of these things they're signing outside. So, I mean, they signed that, and then they immediately had everybody sign this, hey, you will, toe the line no matter what, as long as the Democrats tell you to, right behind it. which I would have thought would have been illegal. Like, you can't sign weird oaths to private organizations. That's
unconstitutional.
Well, that's high treason. Well, yeah, we get to march you to the nearest flagpole or power pole and hang you immediately for that.
Yeah, that's pushing the limit, guys.
No way.
And like to openly, publicly
we
swear
don't. Yeah,
allegiance.
yeah. The American citizen does not have allegiance to foreign nations.
Well, not just four nations. This was, that was one of it. So they had one that you signed, this allegiance, and then you had another one that you signed allegiance that you wouldn't step away from the Democratic Party. So anything that the Democratic Party, said or did, you would stand behind, right or wrong, without question. Which that puts some serious red flags. Like, what are you planning on pushing on me that I wouldn't agree with? And then I don't agree with it ahead of time. Like,
well,
yeah. What if you? I mean, that's the deal. Like, you're having me sign. Like, oh well, you have to sign this to blindly agree with us. Well, I don't agree with that. That was step one, and I don't agree with that.
Well, if we ask you, you're just going to say no anyway. I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, like no or fuck no would have been the. I mean, I would have said it in a jovial way, I wouldn't have really been like, hey, fuck no, I would have been like, fuck no, I'm not signing a paper to a private organization that just recently fucked me over. I remember you guys from the last election. Remember Bernie Sanders? Did you miss all of that? People picked somebody else. You tried to shove a Clinton down my throat. I'm not informing you about this. It was on the news. So yeah, I can't sign away loyalty.
That's water under the bridge. I mean, can't we look at it that way? It's just water under the bridge. Can't we just move on?
Yeah, fair enough.
Can't you just get over it?
I will sign I follow the Democratic Party without question as soon as you ban Hillary Clinton from the building.
Yeah, you have to prostrate yourself to the shoes of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. If you can prostrate yourself to her, then you're in. Can you do that? Hillary Clinton.
Honestly, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is probably the only person that I like less than Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, she makes it hard to like her.
Well, I mean, at least Hillary Clinton's the one in charge, right? Like, she's an evil person, but she's the top of that food chain, right? She's the emperor. You're a little fucking puppet, right? You're the fucking, what was you're the Igor of that situation. Yes,
well, she's okay.
Whatever you need, master.
She's okay with that as long as she has a seat at the table and gets her little bowl of porridge and whatever you get. She's okay with it.
Yeah, she can yell at Michael Cohen a little bit and not bust into to immediate laughter. How dare you try to manipulate the American people? But yet she managed to come out and say that without breaking a smile. That is messed up. And you came out here and lied. How dare you, sir? How dare you? Debbie, please shut the fuck up. Oh.
Aren't you investigating voting later?
Yeah, it's just one of those, you would have to, nobody, and not a single person on that entire panel stood up and was like, this is hypocritical, right? Am I being punked? Is that, who invited Debbie Wasserman Schultz? Who invited her? Why is she still in the building? Didn't she get fired?
Well, no, they pay for those seats. If you got it's a pay to play system. If you can pay for a seat on the committee, you get to be there.
Yeah, because I thought I thought she got fired for corruption and manipulating our media and playing weird games with Bernie Sanders. Did I not?
No, that happened. But that was then, and this is now. They're in control again.
So I guess the same as the Republicans, you just hire every criminal you can.
Yeah,
and she's on the list. She's
on the list of people who you can trust. If you're a bad guy, you can put that piece of shit in an important position to get what you want. She can be bought. She works with you. That's somebody you could do business with. See, in their criminal minds, that's how it works. That's how you get things done.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, she's still sitting there, right? She's grilling. I like how all of those Democrats, right? All the Democrats, all Republicans grilled Michael Cohen for that entire time, and not once mentioned that he was also Hillary Clinton's lawyer. Right? Did you guys see the pictures of him at their birthday party or whatever?
That's Laney Davis, isn't it? Are you saying Cohen?
Cohen worked for him.
Wow.
Cohen worked for the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation. He was on the board for the Clinton Foundation.
Fuck.
And not a single one of them mentioned it. Like, oh, do you know anybody else on this? That's the hilarious part. Wasserman Schultz was grilling him like they didn't know each other.
Yeah.
Like, what was your name again? Even though, like, you were just at his birthday party.
Look, you have to be a really craven piece of shit to be a politician like the ones we got. I mean, when you really follow these people and look at the shit they do, it is so outrageous.
Oh yeah, like instead of going to prison yesterday. Instead of going to prison yesterday, Michael Cohen was testifying in Congress. Which is, I guess, I'm going to use that excuse anytime I have to serve prison time. I'm sorry, guys, I can't. I'm going to be speaking at Congress, so I'll say anything you want. Like, that doesn't seem seem corrupt. He's
running out of time, man. He's trying to brown nose the best deal he can come up with. That's what he's doing.
They asked it, but then they didn't. It was like, okay, really, I guess. You know, they asked him at the hearing, are you hoping to get time off for this? And he was like, well, not just this. I've got like 3-4 other of them, but I'm hoping that I get time off. So the guy that came in has lied his entire life to save his own skin, right? Lied originally to save his own skin and isn't lying now to save his own skin.
Well, if you're a liar lying to a bunch of other liars, does any of it even mean anything? I mean... Well,
it shouldn't, but at that point, like, your average American knows this. There comes a point where it's like, you're losing our side credibility. And I'm not, like, there's all sorts of things here that were completely and utterly corrupt. But if you don't have a phone call or an email or a piece of paper that says it, having your best liar come up and fucking lie to me doesn't make me believe it in any way, shape, or form. You don't have to win over the left, right? The left is already convinced that that Trump's a criminal, right? That's not a problem. Everybody, far left, medium left, halfway through the left has already decided that he's a criminal. Chances are he is. He's a billionaire. Every billionaire is a fucking criminal, right? But the right you have to win over. And the right sees the only person that you brought up was a liar, and that liar didn't bring any information with him. Right? No emails, no papers, no phone calls. In fact, when they pressed Cohen about the conversations between him and Trump, he says, well, Trump would always say, don't go do it, but he would give me a look that tells me to go and do it. Well, then you fucked up, man. If you walk into his office and you're like, hey, do you want me to go and talk to those Russians? And he's all like, do not go and talk to those Russians, right? That's what he said, man. If you took that as go out and talk to the Russians and set that up, that's on you, right? Having a feeling that that's what he wanted you to do, right? That the mafia's used that for forever.
Yeah.
Right. So you say that we know that this building is being monitored. Do not kill Timmy Two Toes.
Oh, guys, we only have like 4 minutes left.
Right. That's what you say. And when you go into court, everybody that's there, well, what did he say? He said, under no circumstances, touch him. That's what he said. And if you don't have any other information than that, then look, man, it's just a criminal, you know what I mean? It's just a criminal organization. That's what they do. Bring me some evidence.
Yeah, he's, well, most of what he got in trouble for was his own doing. He got into the spotlight, and he didn't need to be there because he had issues. And he's gotten busted for it.
Well, yeah, and it's only a matter of time. Like, I can tell you what, he paid off Trump's girlfriend right, out of his own money and all of that stuff, and his wife and this and that. I would bet money the reason that he was involved in any of that, Donald Trump wasn't the only one cheating with those Playboy bunnies. I guarantee you. Wait till you find out more about Cohen and you see the people that he's hanging out with. I guarantee you.
Well, it's like that whole special deal with Trump's Secretary of Labor, and he used to be a prosecutor, doing this whole Jeffrey Epstein deal. Because this, I believe, a lot of these people, they're all caught up in that too.
The Epstein one goes like all the way to the top.
So we talk about payoffs. I mean, there was a lot of payoffs in there too. I mean, this goes.
We only have 2 minutes.
That's
left.
why he's there.
All right, yeah,
it goes deeper.
Well, I mean, just the people that are involved is like the list of who's who in the halls of power, which is disturbing.
And the usual criminals, the Clintons are in there, of course.
Well, you're only 2 steps away from. If there's some corrupt shit going on in the government, you are only 2 steps away from the Clintons. They are like what's that actor? That everybody says that you're only 3 steps away from, 4 steps. Come on, what is his name? Kevin Bacon.
It's
7 steps from.
It's called the 6 degrees of separation. You're only 6 people away from knowing anybody.
Yes, yeah. And only 4 away from Kevin Bacon. Yeah. So you're only like, when it comes to the Clintons, you're like 2. If there's corruption in the area, you're only 2 people away from the Clintons. Probably even less.
Well, if you're on Facebook or Twitter, aren't you only 1? I mean, if he takes your friend request, aren't you there? I mean,
yeah, you're done. All right, guys. Thanks to all of our viewers and for everybody that commented and tuned in. I know we got the closing and all that to do. We got time.
I also like to make an announcement. Thank you to whoever had donated to Zachary's funeral. We'll leave those posts up. We normally don't ask for donations for anything. But this is for a fellow Honan who was killed. So this is an exception. So feel free to donate if you like. Any little bit will help for the funeral costs. We'll be back next week at Thursday at 7. We might have a guest, but we'll make an announcement as soon as the guest verifies. And I guess that's about it. I'll roll out with the credits.
All right.
Ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all those assembled to immediately